Good. Okay. All right. Welcome, everybody. We have a full house today for a good reason. I call to order the regular meeting of the Grover Beach City Council Monday, August 25th, 2025. This meeting may also be viewed on cable channel 20 in Grover Beach and is available on live streaming on www.slow-span.org. Members of the public may provide public comment during the meeting by attending the meeting or calling 805-321-6639. The phone line is open now. I would like you all to join me in the flag salute. We don't have a flag salute student, so why don't you just stand with All right, thank you. City Clerk Sims for the roll call, please.
Councilmember McCory Driscoll.
Here.
Councilmember Tuggle.
Here.
Councilmember Wyrick.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Robert.
Here.
Mayor D.
Here. All right, we have a quorum. Now we will move on to closed session announcements from City Attorney Lamelli.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. There were no reportable actions taken during closed session.
All right, thank you. On to agenda review. Council members, do any of you have any questions or changes that you would like to make? Then can I have a motion to adopt the agenda as presented?
I move to adopt the agenda as presented.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Nope, we have consensus. We do not have any items on the ceremonial calendar, so we will now move on to the presentations. We do have two tonight, and the first one is the Citizen Recognition for Bravery for the South 14th Street Fire, and I will turn it over to Chief Hallett for that presentation.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Thank you for allowing me to be here tonight. I just wanted to recap.
And if you could talk really close into the mic, thank you.
Recap the incident.
Thank you.
First of all. So we did have a structure fire on July 29th at 970 14th Street. This fire did come in at 9:27 in the morning. It was an 8-unit apartment complex. 2 occupants were transported to the hospital, and in total, 11 of the residents were displaced, permanent residents. And I know we have several in the room tonight, and if I could just have those that were impacted by this fire, either you're a resident, a family member of the resident, or an assisting neighbor, if you could just please stand up for a minute. So I just want to thank all of them for being here. Many of them here tonight are still severely impacted by this incident. They have not been able to return to their homes, and I appreciate them being here tonight. We want to make sure we recognize what this does to our community and to our citizens, as well as acknowledge the neighbors that have helped them throughout this process. So just a little bit about the apartment complex itself. The original call did come in off of South 13th Street, and that was where the original 911 caller was located. The actual access, and I don't think the pointer works, but was off of 14th Street. You can see the arrow pointing out the building there. It was at the rear of the complex, and the fire did originate on the first floor. And the fire growth was rapid. Mayor D did share this photo with us very early on, and I believe this was from 16th and Highland, she said.
Brighton, 16th and Brighton.
16th and Brighton. And then I did receive this photo from City Manager Bronson at 9:32. So within 5 minutes, she was able to take the picture, send it to the City Manager, and send it to me, and we already had this much smoke showing coming from the occupancy. Just a little bit more on the scene diagram, and I'm going to step over here to this slide. This is where the fire originated, here on the first floor, and the 2 victims that were rescued from the second floor are here tonight, Nova and Debbie. And one came off of this balcony here because this access to the stairwell was blocked by fire, and the other one was in this window here, and we'll see an illustration of the fire here in a minute. She was not able to exit out her front door due to the amount of fire involved. And so this was a large-scale event for us. Oops, we lost it for a second. We did have, obviously, 5 Cities Fire Authority was the first on scene. Grover Beach Police Department was there actually early on with extinguishers, trying to extinguish the fire to no avail. San Luis Obispo County Fire, CAL FIRE, San Luis Ambulance, Grover Beach Public Works was there assisting us with shutting off some of the utilities as well as traffic control. PG&E, Southern California Gas, and so a lot of agencies involved in this. We did have 24 suppression personnel during the active component of the firefight. And with that, we'll go ahead and, thanks to KSBY, show a little clip from the news as well as the footage of the fire that morning.
As 5 Grover Beach apartments go up in flames, KSBY was first on the scene of the fire as community members jumped in to help save lives.
Tense moments at this apartment complex as flames tore through homes, injuring at least 2 people. I'm your community reporter, Michaela Richardson in Grover Beach, and I caught up with the community members who helped save people as they were jumping out of windows to escape the flames.
Oh, somebody's stuck inside the apartment.
It was just before 9:30 Tuesday morning when Corey Clendenin heard screams from outside his apartment complex.
Come on, jump! Jump! Jump!
Realizing nearby units were engulfed in flames, he and his wife ran to the scene, both catching people as they jumped from second-story windows.
I don't know what good humans should do, right? So I guess that's kind of how I look at it. I mean, I could be complacent and say nothing and sit and chill, but I guess that's not our style.
Clendenin tells me his only focus was helping the woman trying to escape the second story.
It burned. I mean, it burned the side of my leg, my hand a little bit, so it was hot. I guess I didn't really want to drop her on her head.
The incident unfolded before firefighters arrived on scene.
Per reports from PD, we do have visible flames from the rooftop of a 2-story structure. I do see smoke.
Once on scene at the apartment complex on the 900 block of South 14th Street, firefighters first made sure no one else was inside.
Right now, we're still trying to determine how many occupants will actually be displaced, but we believe it could be as many as 10 as a result of the fire.
5 Cities Fire Authority Chief Scott Hallett tells me 5 units were destroyed and 2 people hospitalized.
When I got here, the crews did take action on vertically ventilating the structure to try to remove the heat and gases and also keep the fire from extending to the additional adjacent units.
Clendenin says he's encouraged by how the community has pulled together.
I think everybody's just kind of worried and waiting on see how displaced these folks are because they kind of lost. I mean, it's gone.
Firefighters are still working to determine the cause of the fire. In Grover Beach, Michaela Richardson, KSBY News.
So along with Corey Clendenin was here, we had another resident that was there, Eric Rotando. I don't believe he's here tonight, but we definitely want to acknowledge him. He was also in the video. And then Jackie was there with the video and trying to coach one of the residents off the roof, and I believe was assisting in the previous rescue prior to that. So as you can see by the video, it's pretty impactful and dramatic. We could be telling a much different story tonight for sure. And even though there's still a long road ahead for these people, I do think we have some things to celebrate tonight. One is our Good Samaritan nature of people we have in this community, defined as a person who helps others, especially strangers in need, without expecting any reward in return. And I will tell you, the Clendenins have been very humble. They really didn't want the praise or the recognition, but I think it was really important that we acknowledge them for what they did during this event. They obviously exhibited valor, great courage in the face of danger. You could see Corey's legs getting mighty hot next to the fire there at ground level. But then they've continued on with their efforts to try to help their neighbors with GoFundMe and collecting things that they could need during this process and trying to get back in their homes. And so with that, if Corey and Jackie could come up tonight for a little. So we got them something that as memorabilia for the efforts that they made in helping these residents with the rescue and their support From the Five Cities Fire Authority, the Award of Valor for your courageous acts of bravery displayed on July 29th, 2025 at 970 South 14th Street, Grover Beach. Corey and Jackie Clendenin, we are grateful for your heroic actions to rescue your fellow citizens. You are a prime example of the selfless acts that make our community strong.
And if you can just
If
stay
you
right
guys could-
there, Jackie and
Oh,
Corey, if you could stay right there. We also have a proclamation. I know, Corey, come on. It's okay. We also have something that we would like to read as well.
Okay, so this is a proclamation of the Grover Beach City Council to Corey and Jackie Clendenin. Whereas on July 29th, 2025, the Five Cities Fire Authority responded to a multifamily structure fire at 970 South 14th Street in Grover Beach. Whereas the fire involved an 8-unit apartment complex with 5 units heavily involved with fire and 2 occupants trapped on the second floor. And whereas, with selfless disregard for their own safety, Corey and Jackie Clendenin took decisive and courageous action to help rescue the 2 victims and save their neighbors from serious injury or death. And whereas the Clendenins have organized a fundraiser to support the families displaced by the fire and have collected goods to assist these families in their time of need. And whereas the City of Grover Beach and the Five City Fire Authority acknowledge their selfless acts of bravery and heroic actions along with their ongoing support to help their neighbors in need. And whereas in the spirit of Good Samaritans, the Clendenins are a prime example of what makes our community strong. Now and therefore be it resolved that the Grover Beach City Council does hereby proclaim our profound gratitude and commendation to Corey and Jackie Clendenin for their life-saving actions and exemplary character.
Do you want to say anything before we take a really quick photo?
Oh, you want pictures now, huh?
Yeah. Jackie already signed the thing. She already agreed to it.
Happy wife, happy life.
Yep. All right, let's take some photos. Thank you. All right, council members, did you want to say any words for our individuals, our brave heroes here?
Sure. Thank you so much for stepping up. I think it's amazing when those men and women that are trained to go to danger show up. But for those of us that have not practiced and role played and built a skill set that gives us that level of confidence, it's extra special and amazing. So thank you very much, and I appreciate your efforts. And thanks for being a part of our city.
Yes, thank you. Ditto that. And all of us that can make a difference do make a difference, and we appreciate all the efforts you go through. And just out of sheer compassion and not thinking about it, risk your own life to help others is a special place in my heart for you. So thank you very much.
Is it possible that I can ask, is the GoFundMe page still up and running? Could you come in and tell everyone the name of the page? And thank you again while you're walking up there. Just thank you, not just for the heroic actions, but everything you've done above and beyond for all of these people in need.
Thank you. I can't even imagine what it would be like to walk a moment in their shoes, just watching everything that was going on. The GoFundMe is, the link is on KSBY, so you can find the link directly on there. We're also in the need of storage. The community has been really, really awesome at reaching out, asking how they can help. The thing that we're lacking right now is a place to store any type of donations that do come in. So the units that I've reached out to are at capacity. So if anybody in the community is aware of an ability to store while they're finding housing, that would be super awesome. So thank you.
Thank you.
And I do want to thank you both for leading these efforts too. And I think, Corey, you're right when it came to your interview on KSUY that yes, people could just stay there and not do things. But I think it said a lot about you all for jumping in right on the spot too, and then looking forward to continuing these efforts too. And I nowadays sometimes we have people question if community is strong too and how we feel about our neighbors. I think you all proved that when those moments really do matter, our community does step up and people do care. So thank you for doing all that work too. And of course we're all wishing the best for everyone who's still displaced, and your efforts obviously still helping them out too. So thank you all for doing that, and obviously for everyone in the back too who did their part as well that day.
Yeah, this is a true act of heroism, and I know that it just doesn't stop there. The GoFundMe page, the donations, again, the Clendenins are continuing to meet with these families that have been displaced, and they are looking for a storage place if anybody has any extra storage to collect the donations for these families to get started again. So I'm just so proud to have these individuals in my life, and thank you so much for all that you do. Thank you to our responders that were there so quickly, and we appreciate you. So once again, thank you so much. All right, so we will now move on to presentation number 2, which is the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. All righty, here we go.
Hi there, I'm Mike Flores. I am your city's finance manager in the Administrative Services Department, and tonight I have the honor of telling you guys about our Certificate of Achievement that was awarded by the Government Financial Officers Association in our financial reporting. So it is coinciding with our ACFR, which is the Annual Comprehensive Financial Report, and it is only awarded to organizations that excel beyond the bare minimum of our governmental accounting standards. And so we were awarded that for our financial reports for fiscal year 23-24. And just to kind of put that into some perspective for you, in the USA, there is 90,000 local government units. So that includes your cities, counties, and public utility districts. We were 1,600 out of every single local government unit, which, to kind of put that in a whole number, that's 2% of all of the local government units combined. So we were in the top 2%. For financial reporting, and it just goes to show our commitment to transparency, accountability, and accuracy when it comes to financial reporting. And thank you.
Thank you so much. Do we have any questions from our council members or any comments? Yeah, and thank you for the transparency coming here and presenting on behalf of the financial department. This is very exciting to receive this award once again, and again, from a third party coming in, making us, you make us both proud, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good, thank you. Okay, so we will now move on to our public communications. Our meetings are designed to proceed in an organized and efficient manner to effectively conduct city business. The council welcomes and values public comments, which can be shared at the designated time from the podium using the microphone. And you're probably going to have to move the microphone a little bit to get to talk really into that. The council requests that all comments be addressed to the council as a whole, and that speakers refrain from directing individual comments at staff members. To maintain an orderly process, we ask all attendees to refrain from creating disruptions during the meeting, interrupting speakers who are addressing the council, or impeding the council's ability to conduct business. Should disruptions occur, the council may need to take certain measures such as calling recess, clearing the chambers, or in rare circumstances, canceling the meeting. We greatly appreciate your understanding and cooperation in maintaining a productive environment that serves our entire community effectively. During this time, the council will allow for public communication. Any member of the public may address the council for a period not to exceed 3 minutes total on any item of interest within the jurisdiction of this council. The council will listen to all communications. However, in compliance with the Brown Act, the council cannot act on or discuss items not on the agenda. I also want to set the table a little bit because it's my understanding that there's probably some people going to come up here and talk about development. If you have comments about a specific project, you can do so during this general public comment, but again, the council cannot discuss it at this time because of the Brown Act, and some projects are being presented before the Planning Commission here soon. But also, comments on the development code itself may be made during the consent agenda item. So I just wanted to clear that up and give some direction there. So I will now open general public comment. I do have some speaker slips. Joanna Ruba, did you want to speak during the general public comment? Or was there a specific item that you wanted to speak? All right, that's consent agenda. I'll bring you back up, okay? All right. Juanita and Bruno Viscariello. General public comment? Okay.
I'm not sure if this is where I'm supposed to be.
I can help you, and go ahead and put the microphone to you.
Okay. About the water plant that's being built over on the corner of Calvin and 4th Street.
Go ahead.
I live right on the corner of Calvin and 4th Street, and I would just like to know how it's going to impact my home, if there's going to be any smells or noise or rumbling or anything like that.
Okay.
So
we will be making, we can address these comments during our council communications at the end of the meeting. So you can continue if you have anything else to say.
Well, I just want to know why, if it's for Pismo, why it's being built in Grover Beach. You know, why don't they build it in Pismo?
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, we have Pamela Storton, followed by Brenda Auer.
Hi, Pamela Storton, Grover Beach resident. I've asked numerous times for you to please agendize a discussion on the consolidation of permits with the Coastal Commission and moving that out of the jurisdiction of Grover Beach and over to the Coastal Commission in the west side of Grover Beach. In my opinion, this is not giving the residents of Grover Beach the ability to talk to their local leaders about things that are happening in the community that happen to be in the coastal zone. I don't think that that's real transparency. The Coastal Commission meets once a month across the state. They generally come to San Luis Obispo in May or June, and that doesn't give the people the ability during the day when they hold those meetings to talk. They don't even know what's happening. So if we could stop taking, consolidating permits for anything in the Coastal Commission area, I think it would be a great service for the people of Grover Beach to be allowed to have items, developments large and small, go through the regular planning process here in the town. We've gotten away from that. And I think it's really important that we institute that back so that people have a voice and can see you, you can see them, and quit putting it off with the Coastal Commission. Number two, is there a way that when people are online watching the council meeting that we can get numbers of who's watching and how? Because sometimes people leave and watch from home. You can't really check in, and that way we could see what the numbers are, because sometimes it may look like this is empty, but there are people watching from home. And if we could start getting a count of those people who have logged in or checked on, I think it's really important, because you might have a bigger audience that's watching you than you actually believe. Thank you for your time, and please consider the importance to the community in the decisions you make. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Storton. Brenda Auer, followed by Elizabeth Dukas.
Hi, Brenda Auer, Grover Beach resident, Grover Beach business owner. I have a couple items. First of all, I really want to say ditto to everything that Pam said. There's several people here that live in that affected area where Central Coast Blue wants to come in that own property and are afraid what their values are what's gonna happen to them. So please think about them, listen to them, keep them informed. It's real important. I bought the business over on the corner of 11th and Grand, the old hole in the sky. Some of you may know it. I have a little problem. I went into the city this week and I was told that the sprinklers on 12th Street that are coming down 3 times a week and flooding right in front of the barber shop, past my business and in front, was my problem to take care of. Well, first of all, it's a runoff. And second of all, I was told that you didn't know who the business owners were of that complex. I'm in real estate. All I have to do is look it up, but I don't think it's my job to go and do code enforcement on them or ask them to fix that. I'd also like to know, what are you going to do with that area? Is that still part of the grand master plan, or is it debunked? Is it going to be fixed? There is a serious drainage problem there. We've kind of seen it over the years. Charlie used to put sandbags out. I don't want to do that to my business. So maybe we could address that. I've asked Matt, nothing's happened. So I came into the city and then I was told they couldn't help me. So maybe take a look at that if you would, please. And please, I know you're all capable of listening to the people, really listening to what they have to say. Sometimes the people know a little bit better for their city than maybe the developers, or I'm watching the park. You know, if we wouldn't have moved the bathroom, maybe we could have saved $1 million if we'd have left the bathroom where it is at Ramona. I hear we don't have enough money now. Maybe we should turn it into a little motocross track for kids, for their bikes. Don't think the neighbors would like that, but let's get real about how we're spending our money. We are spending money before we have it. I couldn't survive as a business owner or raise my 5 children if I was in debt all the time. So please consider that. And if you need any help, there's about 50 people I know of that are willing to help. All right, thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Auer. Elizabeth Dukas, followed by maybe Roscoe Doss.
Good evening, Elizabeth Dukas, North Grover Beach. After being at home watching these council meetings over the last several years, it has become very clear that the City Council, Planning Commission, City Manager, City Attorney, City Clerk, and the City Council pro-build at all costs is failing to actually listen to their constituents. Elderly persons, young people in the community, business professionals at literally every meeting have questioned these overbuild projects for our small little burg. They have requested the city manager be fired over deceptive business practices, taking the voice away from the taxpayers and into the hands of the builder developers. All of you have shown little regard for the voices of your constituents over your assignment of approving literally every project given to you with nary a glance at safety, water use, unsustainable lack of parking, and a myriad of other conditions to build you have thrown away against our best interests. If you were interested in the voice of your people, you would have agendized the city manager position so that the public could come to you and speak and let you know how poorly they have been treated by this staff. But as you have already been courted and groomed to overlook this exact detail of city management, all of Mr. Bronson's posturing and fantastical machinations have you bought and sold. And you can say whatever you want at any time, but your votes and your voices have been very clear. So please don't try and say that you in fact are here for your people. That ship has already sailed. Like former Mayor Ronald Arnoldson said very clearly, you are here for the jacket, not the citizens. Your constituents have begged you to please use restraint and common sense when improving these massively huge and oversized projects in such a small area of our town, wiping out any semblance of small town appeal. If we want our city to use safe and sane building practices, listen to the people before anyone else. My public service announcement. If not, then all of these representatives sitting here today must go, all of them. All we have heard is how much the city has done for you, not what you can do for your citizens. Some quiet moments for the unanswered pleas of the taxpayers you have blatantly gavelled off and ignored over the interests of others not living in our city or for which you have become tainted and ingratiated to.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Dukas.
Thank you for your time.
Of course. Roscoe Doss, you said unsure if you want to talk during this time. Is that right? I'd like to talk now. Of course. Absolutely. Sure.
First, thank y'all for your service. Oh, boy. What she said. Exactly.
Oh, excuse me.
Not LA, not the Bay. I moved here December of 1987. I lived at 897 North 1st Street, Grover Beach, since July of 1988. I've worked hard, raised my sons. They went to these schools. It was Mayberry RFD. I moved from LA because they didn't like the school system. They were going to have to go to an all-asphalt school. Not the greatest neighborhood, 6-foot-high chain link fences all around. That was a prison. That wasn't school. They got to go to Grover Heights. They got to walk to school. They got to ride bikes to school. You know, this was a sweet place. My wife grew up in Hermosa Beach. She said this was like Hermosa in the 50s. You know, it's not now. You know, I must have been asleep at the wheel. I don't know what happened, but all of a sudden, kablooey, 5-story buildings where the car lot was, across from 7-Eleven. Everything's being built. We had water problems. We had to have our water rates raised because there wasn't enough water. We had water rationing. Now we're building tons of units. Wonder if they're going to pay their water shares. Wonder if we have the water for it. Why don't we get rebates for all the excess we've paid? It's very frustrating, as you can hear in my voice. I don't know the answers. I haven't done my homework. Many people have, but I'm very frustrated, and I can't believe you built it right next to the sidewalks. It's mind-blowing, and there's more coming. The Rockaway project. Yeah, I'm sad for Grover Beach, and I pray we'd get back to being a community that is a community and not $400,000 studios, LA North, San Francisco South. Thank y'all for your time.
Thank you for your comments. I'm going to say the last name wrong. I'm sorry. James Prang. It was easier than what I thought. My bad.
Yeah, my wife and I live in Grover. And I'm here about the proposed potential Pismo sewer water plant going in at the west end of Calvin Court. So just like the first time Project Blue came, didn't hear anything about it till it was almost too late. And thanks to Brenda and some others, we were able to get that stopped. Now we're hearing a rumor that it's coming again. And so I think what I'm looking for, and we met just prior to this meeting, a bunch of us that live in the neighborhood, I think we're all looking for transparency as to what is going on, because all of us that live in that neighborhood, none of us want that. So there's a lot that needs to be addressed. The biggest one to me is what's going to happen to our property values, and who's going to make us whole for that if you put in a plant that no one wants. The other issues I know of from the first time around is who's going to pay for damages to our house when they're drilling wells and pounding the ground and damaging our foundation and breaking windows. And then also if we have to leave because the noise and stuff is too much, who's going to pay for our displacement if this thing goes through? And then there's other things, don't know if these are facts or fictions, but we would like to get the facts. We're hearing that Grover Beach changed the zoning to allow this plant to go in. No one asked the people that live there. I don't know if that's true, but that's what we're hearing. Let me see, what else? We're also hearing that Pismo is not paying any property taxes on on the property. Don't know if that's true or false. We'd like to get that information. That should be told to us. And then either don't know if this is part of the project or a separate issue. We're also hearing that there's a plan to extend Hoover Street all the way to Calvin Court. We happen to live, our property is on that street. I think that street would go through our property. So if that's happening, that's another one. I don't know if that's a plan, but again, haven't heard a word about it from anybody, if that's really happening. And then other than that, I mean, if the project's going, how the impact to the Coastal Commission is, well locations, site plans, what the thing is supposed to look like. I don't know. There's probably a ton of other things that we probably don't even know to ask to know, but the biggest thing is we don't know what's going on. So we'd like you guys to defend us over Pismo's.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. All right, Kevin and Maria Woolley.
Kevin and Maria Woolley, we live at 749 Highland Way for 20 years now. We're just concerned about that water project on Calvin. One thing that comes to my mind is just put in that homeless shelter there. And if you're having 24/7 drilling and pounding and noise, those people are the most fragile in the community. And if we drive them over the edge and back into addiction, that's a bad deal. We also have 100 feet from that Pismo Beach Home property, Pacific Landing, the Trans-Pacific fiber optic cable landing facility. But what's going to happen to that fiber optic cable? We're pounding that ground, injecting water into the ground. That's critical national infrastructure. We have a federal component there too for national security. What else was there?
Well, I would like to have more transparency to know what's going on in our community, to let the community members have a voice in this, and to have our city council member protect us and speak up for us and have our interest at the forefront. And, you know, we'd appreciate that. That's why we want you in your position, and we'll just stay tuned.
Another thing comes to mind, anybody that lives there in Grover Beach knows in the evenings and night, the freight trains run through there. They shake the whole house. They jar the pictures on the wall. What's going to happen to those wells with all that vibration every day? You're going to collapse wells. You're going to have infrastructure problems. It's just going to be a disaster. It's the wrong location. It's Pismo Beach's problem that they're putting on Grover Beach, and we shouldn't be bearing the brunt of it.
Thank you for your Thank you for your comments. Elmer Dale.
Thank you for letting me speak, and thank you for serving for us. I would like you to continue serving and really stick up for us. When I heard that the project had collapsed, I thought we were out of it and we were safe. But now I'm hearing rumors about it still going through, and very possibly because we have joint power agreements on that project, that it doesn't even go through our planning commission here. It's going straight down to the Coastal Commission. And the Coastal Commission can be tough at sometimes, and you know, this water is an important thing. Are they going to say, we need water more than we need you? I live on Highland Way, neighbors with Kevin and Missy, and my property looks right out on where it's going to be. Okay? In a short distance like that, what's the smell going to be? What's the vision going to be? And instead of what am I going to be looking at? And then the property values and everything else that other people have expressed their concerns about. Are we still in an agreement? Is Grover Beach still in agreement with them? You know, we heard it died But then again, if so, has that been canceled? Are they paying property taxes? Because they're not paying property taxes because we're still in agreement or something with them. And if they're not paying property taxes, why aren't we getting that property sold to collect back taxes? You know, let's be aggressive. Let's have you folks step up and say, hey, we're taking care of you here. And we appreciate your time and looking into that for us.
Thank you so much for your comments. Let's see. Okay, is there anybody that wishes to speak on general public comment? Come on, you go.
I want to say bravo to these people. Hi, how you doing? Do you guys miss me? Like they were saying, I heard Matt tell you that there were still some things they were winding down. Remember that meeting we had? And that since he lies so much and doesn't finish and answer the question, tonight's a good time to ask him that question. What does he mean by winding down on this project that these people are talking about? And because it's serious, you know, they need to know. I asked them, they didn't get anything in the mail, nothing. You guys used to send me stuff in the mail. What happened to that? I don't get on Nextdoor. I don't get on the computer. I mean, you used to send mail. And that was just up until 2 years ago. And thanks, Matt, he really did me a favor getting on TV about the memorials that he dug up over there. Now the park's just stopped for 8 weeks. Why? He digs up the memorials and cuts oak trees
Mr.
down.
Myrick, he didn't dig them up. Remember?
Well,
address
he
us.
was in charge of it. He's the boss, right? Okay,
Continue
it's his fault they got dug up.
Mr. Myrick, please continue your comments.
Okay. Well, anyways, I talked to I've been here my whole life. I knew a couple of the families. I told them he had 6.5 years to get a hold of them. That's how long that's been going on, that park. He waits till he takes them down and then decides that he's going to do a good deed and send them the benches back to their house. This is like a grave. You don't do that to people on a memorial. That was wrong. You don't supposed to cut down oak trees in California. That's what he rushed over there and got the memorials down, and the whole park's just at stalemate. It's beautiful weather. I mean, what's going on with the park now that you guys had to have for $4 million? I mean, it's kind of ridiculous. You got to start thinking what this guy's doing. He's making chumps out of you. Because legally, you guys are at fault, not him. You're his boss. And you're the only ones that can do anything about this guy. I'd fire him right now if it was
Mr.
me.
Myrick,
Okay,
thank you so much.
The memorials were bad at doing that. He has no empathy. He's a sociopath. Even at the end of the TV thing, he's trying to say, oh, some people did it without a permit. Come on, nothing's getting done. You guys clean the park every day and you didn't get a hold of these people and tell them to get a permit? The lying has to stop. All the lying has to stop. I'm not saying they're not telling the truth. They're liars. They're telling lies. And it's got to stop, you know. The package I got, thank goodness you gave it to me, because I got somebody up above really listening to me as far as legally. That package was the best thing he gave me. So I want to tell you thank you. And I love you guys, man. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Myrick. Anybody else wish to come up? Okay.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Lauren Westwell from Newport. Today I came in to help an elderly woman who's recently been billed for 30 units of water on this billing cycle. I asked to speak to someone concerning this bill, plus she was charged a late fee. This elderly woman I'm speaking of always had credit according to a couple of the bills that I had of her account. And she did not have enough money to cover one of the bills, and yet you guys charged her a late fee. When I asked the clerk to speak to someone, I expected to speak to someone in billing. Instead, I ended up speaking to him. I had the person next to me, and she had to sign a bunch of documents, or actually 2 documents, to request a year's worth of her bills. Her average bill, or her 2 previous bills that he printed out for me, was 10 units and 15 units. How could she now be at 30 units? I when she called the city last week and asked for somebody to come out and see if she had a leak or what's going on with the meter, nobody ever called her back. Nobody ever came out. I came back from my vacation, was informed about this. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I went and read the meter, watched the meter, took pictures of the meter. In 25 days, the meter's reading that she's already used 10 units. I have walked her grass area in my socks. There is no sogginess, so it's not her irrigation. The clerk tells me to check her irrigation and do a dye test in her toilets. This is an elderly woman on a fixed income. So I asked him, okay, if I find the leak, we fixed the leak, is there any chance you guys can, give her some credit since you guys have a previous water usage? And he basically told me no, she has to pay it, it's on her end. This is ridiculous. These are our elderly, and now she's being charged for 30 units. We paid the bill today, which she's paying it early, but I mean, you're charging her $10 a late fee when she had credit constantly on her bill. And now I have to wait 10 days to get the rest of her year's bill so I can see what's going on and what her average usage is. But I did the dye test in her toilets. There's no dye coming up into the bowl. I've walked her yard. There's no leaks. Can I get somebody out to the city to find out what's going on? Because in 25 days, 1 to 2 people cannot be using 10 units of water. I don't even use 10 units of water, and there's 3 of us. I got 10 seconds. 9. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you, Ms. Westfall. All right. Yes, Ms. Reynolds.
Thank you. I'm just saying, change the subject back to where we started with the wonderful behavior of Clendenins and the apartments. I would like to reach out to people who have a garage that they park a car in, if they might be able to park in the driveway for the next month or 2 for storage. I don't have a garage that is not crammed full of my parents' belongings. They passed away recently in their 90s, so I'm sorry I can't help. I've had kitchen tables, futons, chairs, beds offered to me for these people because they have no place to put them while they're being put up either at their family members or a hotel. They have nowhere to put them. So if anybody, we might not own the storage place, and Meathead was full until the college students get here and take all their things back. But if you've got a garage that you could simply park your car out, any space like that, because a lot of people have stepped forward. And I just helped the gal clear out her home. I got wheelchairs, I got beds, I got bookshelves, 2 chairs that fold out to a futon, flatware. This community is very generous when people on Nextdoor step up. And right now, there's no place to put it. So anybody, if you've just got a garage, please reach out to any of you guys. Corey and Jackie, the Fund a Need, that's all we need is space right now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's a great idea. Thank you. Anybody else wish to come up and speak during general public comment? Is there anybody on the line? Oh, one more. Okay, come on up.
Hello, my name is Sandy Freitas. I'm a resident of Grover Beach, and my mother recently passed away. She has 2 homes here in Grover Beach, and they're vacant. We're in the process of getting ready to sell them, and the lawn service that we have takes our grass away. And I called the waste company that services us, and I said, we don't need the garbage cans. Nobody's living in either one of them. And they said I couldn't stop the garbage pickup, that it was the city that was requiring me to have that because I have water, which we have grass that we still water. And it's been almost 6 months that we changed the gardener. He takes it away, and we're paying the fee every month, and we don't use it. And they said that the city, it was apparently an ordinance or something with the city. And so I'd like to know what the ordinance is and why we have it, because I'm paying the $89 on 2 residents that are empty. And they said that it's out of their hands because it's up to you guys. So if you could explain to me why I can't stop that when I'm not using it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comments. Anybody else wish to come up and speak on general public comment? All right, seeing nobody come forward, is there anybody on the line?
Yes, we have Krista Jeffries.
Okay. Hello, Ms. Jeffries.
Good evening, Council. Hi, thanks for having me. I was walking my kids to school the last couple of days. School just started. I've got 2 kids now in Grover Heights, one of them at AG High School. Oh my gosh, I almost said I had 3 kids at Grover Heights. I don't. Anyway, I have 3 kids who walk around the neighborhood a lot, anywhere. And I was noticing that the intersection where North 8th Street and Atlantic City and Ritchie Road all meet up there where Grover Heights is, could really use some daylighting curb paint. And what I mean by that is like painting the curb red to prevent parking, so that all of the many crosswalks that are up there can be can allow the kids that are using them to be more visible. I've been kind of the volunteer crosswalk guard for the last couple of days, just to see the couple of kids that do still go on foot, because it just gets really hairy up there at like 8:30 in the morning. It's just crazy, and I don't blame parents for not feeling that their kids are safe crossing there. But there are still some kids who cross, and there are some parents who would like to send their kids on foot or on bike to school, but they don't feel like it's safe. And that particular intersection just has a lot of opportunities for failure. There's also some red curbing up there that has been there for a while, but I've seen people park on it because it's so faded. It just looks like the gray around it. And then I also wanted to point out that California passed a law a couple of years ago that basically gives pedestrian signals 3 to 7 seconds of lead time before the car light changes. So like you're getting ready to cross the crosswalk. If you're on foot, you get like 7 seconds or so to get out into the street before the green light for the car changes. And that way the car can see you, particularly for left turns, so people can see you before you cross. And that's not mandated for city intersections. It's only mandated for state intersections, but I see it being implemented at some of our intersections, but not all of them. So I would just encourage you guys to do a quick check on whether that is on the work plan somewhere. I really love walking around Grover, but it could be a lot safer and more people would do it if it was just a little bit more tidied up in that way. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jeffries. Is there anybody else on the line? All right, well then I will now close general public comment. I just want to really quickly say that I know there were a lot of questions and comments about CCB. We do address comments during our council communication, so I will be talking about that in just a little bit after we have our consent agenda presentations. I will be asking our city manager to speak to that, so just hang tight. Oh, excuse me, Central Coast Blue, CCB, the water project that's being proposed by Pismo Beach down in that little industrial area. Thank you, Councilmember Wyrick. We're so used to our acronyms, so. Okay, so, and then other comments as well we will be addressing during the council communications. So just hang tight. We are now going to move on to the consent agenda. So the following routine items listed on the consent portion of the agenda are scheduled for consideration as a group. This is the treasurer's reports for the period of July 1st through July 31st, 2025. Treasurer reports for the 2022 street bond account for the period of July 1st through July 31st, 2025. The minutes of the city council meeting on Monday, July 28th, 2025. The second reading and adoption of an ordinance amending the Grover Beach Municipal Code, Article 9, and adoption of resolution amending the local coastal program. The second reading and adoption of an ordinance amending the Grover Beach Municipal Code, Article 9, and adoption of a resolution amending the local coastal program with revisions to Chapter 4. This is for the accessory dwelling units, or ADUs, to align with recent changes in state ADU law requirements. The selection of voting delegate and alternate for the 2025 League of California Cities Annual Conference. Appropriation of urban area apportionment funds to West Grand Avenue Streetscape project. This is a project that we just finished. Purchase of Public Works dump truck, and the introduction and first reading of an ordinance to approve the reorganization, compilation, renumbering, amendment, repeal, restatement, and codification of existing ordinances and adopting a new municipal code. So for those items, I will now open public comment on the consent agenda, and I do have some speaker slips. First, we have Joanna Ruba.
Hi.
Hi.
Johanna Ruba. I live near 4th and Seabright. My main preoccupation today is these gigantic condo complexes that are going up at my end of town. And they just kind of plopped down out of the blue. I don't recall getting any real notice of them. Maybe I missed something. But frankly, I think they're horrible. They're completely out of scale with the neighborhood. I think the architecture is pretty ugly, frankly. But I don't understand how this got past the Planning Commission or anybody for that matter. I'm really wondering what the impetus is for having these things even considered, let alone approved. Who is this supposed to benefit? Do we want to be Miami Beach? I don't know. But I'm very concerned about the parking situation. I live in that area. The traffic at that intersection of 4th and Grand is probably going to get a lot worse. Frankly, I'm a little concerned about the beaches being more crowded.
Mayor,
tourism
we need to
is
tie this
great.
into something that's on the consent agenda.
Yeah, so the development, you can speak into the development code. So the parking,
Well,
et cetera.
I don't know what the development code is. Obviously, the code permits the
So
parking.
you're talking about the heights of the buildings. That's what you can, that in the development code. But parking and beaches, et cetera, that should have been spoken towards during the general public comment.
Well, I didn't know that. I didn't know that code, parking, and height were separate things. But anyway, I guess my overall objection is registered. But I really do want to know in whose interest is this happening, because I don't think it's pleasing a lot of residents. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comments. We have Brenda Auer, followed by Roscoe Doss.
Thank you. I'd like to echo everything she just said. It's important that the community be listened to. I have a couple issues here. First of all, there are 11 items on this consent agenda. Did you read them all?
Of course.
11 items, okay. Well, first of all, I couldn't find anything on number 11. It'd be real nice to be able to have something other than it's just read by its title. So maybe you could explain that to me since you've read it. And then also number 9. Let's talk about where are those monies going on item 9. Number 7, the second reading. Excuse me. That was a discussion and people asked questions and they were never answered. Now we're going to accept it. You're not listening to the people. Please do that. On the Treasury report, can anyone tell me who Four Creeks Inc. is? And if it's somebody we're hiring outside to do extra work, why are we still hiring employees, new employees all the time? It's just a little backwards. Back to the budget. I'm more than happy to help y'all save some money on the budget if you ever want to reach out. It takes a successful person, and this is, as you say, ran as a business. And there's a lot of things not being ran correctly here. My money's not being taken care of. But again, how can you read a number 11 and not tell us about it and approve it? I mean, are you going to tell us about it next time? I'd like to know, please. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Auer. We have Roscoe Doss.
Sorry, my foot fell asleep. I didn't, though. I'm kind of a newbie on this. It's been a while since I've been here. But I read things and I echo what my fellow citizens said. I go to number 10, Public Works dump truck for $169,000 basically. I'm in the wrong business. That's a lot of money for a dump truck. It seems like you could find that a lot
cheaper, had a place that was going out of business. I don't know, there's lots of stuff that's just frustrating to me. I agree, I'd like to hear the ordinances or maybe have them tabled. Yeah, I don't know. The fences, the walls, the zones, allowable, the land heights, the height of the buildings. How can we find these things out, and how can we respond and try to put our disfavor in for such huge buildings, for Santa Monica type buildings, for Redondo Beach, or what we used to call Recondo Beach, because they tore down and built condos everywhere, and now we're tearing down little beach type buildings and building these monsters. Yeah, it's great for property tax. I'm afraid people are going to get killed at that intersection. They're going to come out from a corner. It's just right at 4th and Grand. Those buildings are right up on the sidewalk. I don't know where they're going to park. Is there parking in that structure? There's so many things, but I agree with them. I don't know how they got approved. I never saw anything in my mailbox. Am I just asleep at the wheel? Or are we all asleep at the wheel? Or are y'all slipping things under the rug and then we get to find out about it after it's built? So once again, thank you for serving. Thank you for your time, but I got a lot of questions.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Whoops.
Uh-oh.
Oopsie. Elizabeth Dukas, North Grover Beach. I have been attending council meetings for over 20 years, and I have never seen this amount of items on a consent agenda. You're basically bypassing any input from the public. And on the number of buildings you are building now, you have already far exceeded the state requirement of the number of units. Why continue on in this ad hoc, uncontrolled building that is doing nobody any service? You are forcing people to live in a certain way that is untested, untried. Why don't we see what's going on in 4th and Grand? What troubles come from there? Instead, you're doubling down and adding 5-story buildings on Rockaway when it has been expressly stated by our mayor that only 5-story buildings would be on Grand Avenue. That has been the standard for a very, very long time. And also, item number 11, schedule a public hearing for a second reading and adoption at the next regularly scheduled city council meeting. You are eliminating the voice of the people. We do have a say. We don't have to build San Francisco. All we have to do is say no. Our city cannot sustain it. Our people do not want it. We don't have the water to support it. You have already come to us to pay for the sewer systems of these buildings. You are delaying their costs for a year to 2 years so that they're not even paying their fair share. By eliminating the people, you are doing a great disservice to your community.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Dukas. Anybody else wish to come up and speak on the consent agenda? And then you can go next. Go ahead. No, you're good.
Hello, I'm Debbie Peterson, and I do live close to 4th and Grand. And I wanted to say it's brilliant to have so many people here tonight. And I understand there were a lot more at the beginning, and that's great. That's good when we see people here speaking their minds. And I also wanted to commend you on the all the work that's been done on the ADUs. It's really good work. And I can see that there's been a lot of work done to clean up the codes, and I appreciate that. I think that's good, and it represents a huge body of work. I share the concerns about the high buildings, and one of the things that we hear so often is, oh, the city reached out, we were on social media. But then when it comes to looking at what are the people of the city saying on social media, oh, they're just disgruntled. So if you believe that social media is the way to reach the people, by turn, it's important that you consider the voices of the people on the social media also. And parking is an issue. It's of a big concern. And we don't understand why our precious views that we'll never be able to get back again, ever, if you put up these buildings that are above the 40 feet, which is what originally we all understood the case to be. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Peterson. Come on up. Did you want to talk? Yeah, go ahead.
Hello, my name is Sharon Height, and I'm just perplexed about why it seems communication to the actual residents seems to be stymied in a way that they can't control and have effective interaction with the council that's supposed to be representing them. I feel most people think those new buildings are wildly overbuilt and ugly. If you've already reached those shove down our throats goals for shoving us into ever increasing density, like that's going to solve anything, except take away our quality of life, with no payoff, no real payoff. There is something to be said for...
I just want to remind you to go back to the development code.
Yeah.
If you can talk
Sure.
about the consent agenda.
So where can we get access to the development code? And who is making these decisions? Because it should be the area's decision. And the developers, this is a very valuable area. Developers can push back, stand up for us. Are you? Because it doesn't seem like it at all. And you're giving away the store. What is going on? And everybody keeps telling you the same thing. Is this what happens over and over and over? And you guys don't feel you have to communicate what's actually happening behind the scenes? Because that's what it feels like entirely. It's what it lives like. So we need more communication. We need more transparency. Transparency is a buzzword now. But if you aren't mailing anybody and you're expecting social media to do all this for us, I don't care what day and age it is. We need paper. We need something that you can paper trail us to keep, what, I could keep you accountable? What is it? Why do we have this adversarial type of arrangement? You work for the city and we're the city. What's going on? And you guys, I don't know how much you're supposed to not respond, but it's like, we need some answers. We're losing our minds. This ain't right at all. And we need to save this area. This is a vintage California beach town, and you're ruining it. You're letting this happen to us. It is killing us. I can't stand to drive by that place that's new up there. It's sickening, turns my stomach. I go the other way now. 24, okay. I just,
Make sure it's on the consent agenda, though. Keep going.
Okay, where do we get this development stuff? And we need to be told, do we have any ability to change things anymore? Or is this all a dog and pony show? Because we don't need the heartache and taking out our time to try to affect and get nothing for it. Because AG does this too. This is like the way it is now.
Thank you for your comments. Anybody else wish to come up and speak on the consent agenda?
Okay, good evening again, Lauren Westfall. It's quite interesting when there's very important topics that you guys bring in the big wigs here that are going to sit here and quarterback how we act in front of you when you guys have lied to us and lied to us. Credit cards on the Treasury report, $31,459. Come on, I thought we were going to bring the credit card charges down. Why did we pay $87 to Care Paul? We don't even have a canine unit, at least not that I know of. Why are we paying $330 to Digital West when we took out money out of the wastewater fund to help Digital West bring in the conduits? They should be giving us a discount, not charging us. Wallace Group, CIP 2959. Didn't have time to look that up, but we paid $25,581 to Wallace Group, and then to the Weldon Financial, $36,050. I'm not sure if Brenda asked because I was too busy looking at the treasury report, but who is the Four Creek Inc. That we paid $75,085? $1,000 for bathroom reconstruction to the PD. I want to thank you that this company only charged you $1,000, because if you hired that RHL dude, it would have been like $3,000, because I've looked at all his bills. Central Coast Carts. What is Central Coast Carts that we paid $16,143.94? It's also quite interesting. There's a bunch of other new charges for new people that I haven't seen in past reports. And it's actually interesting that you guys changed water companies for the corporate yard drinking water for Primo brand, Blue Tritron brand Inc., $443.24. Well, I think you're paying the other company, Nestle, a lot less than that. Come on, I really do not think any of you guys are really even questioning the city manager on any of these charges. You guys are just rubber stamping this stuff. And having the supervisor here in San Luis, there is constantly a lot of charges that we need to figure out, because it's us that's paying for it. It's us that's running this city. It's us that's running the San Luis County. We're paying it, and you guys aren't even questioning it. You're just glancing it over and rubber stamping it. Something needs to be done. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Westfall. Anybody else wish to come up and speak on the consent agenda? I think, did you already speak? I think you were you already spoke during the consent agenda item. So you're unable. This is still the consent agenda item, so you're unable. You already had your 3 minutes to come up and speak, so you're unable to come up during that time. Okay. Anybody else? Yes. Go ahead.
Good evening, City Council. David Swift, North Grover. I actually want to loop back and touch on something that Elizabeth Dukas said. She passed over it really quickly, but I spent most of my career in process improvement and project management. And there's a fundamental principle when you're doing process improvement, whether it's policies, manufacturing, whatever it is, that you implement a best idea on a process or a policy or a procedure, and then you measure the performance. And you frequently go back and you look at how you're measuring your performance of the process versus what you thought it was going to do. And I think in regards to development codes, and then we'll see the second reading on the city ordinances, the parking ordinances come up before. I don't see us doing that measurement, that follow-up, that are these changes to codes, changes to ordinances, producing the desired result? And if not, how are you getting those measurements and how are you making those changes in a measured way? It's a typical Six Sigma process, and I would recommend that you apply that to some of the things you guys are doing here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anybody else wish to speak on the consent agenda? Okay, is there anybody on the line? All right, I will now close I will now close the public comments for the consent agenda. Council members, do any of you want to pull any items or make any comments, questions? I do have a couple of questions, but I don't. Well, do you want to pull an item? Okay. All right. So just really quickly, Mr. Lamelli, City Attorney Lamelli, can you just really quickly explain why we do our public hearings in this way, where we bring it either first on the consent agenda and then bring it back for the second reading as an item, or vice versa?
Sure. So ideally, the introduction will happen and you can have a public hearing at that time, or you can do an introduction via consent, and then at the next meeting when it comes back for adoption, the public will have an opportunity to be able to participate in a public hearing at that point to provide comments and feedback, and then council can decide based on those comments and feedback whether they'd like to adopt the item before them, whether they'd want to modify it or send it back for revisions. In this case, it's taking your existing municipal code and putting it online so people can access it.
And this gives us and the community more time to read the material and really study it before we bring back with comments.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you so much. And then Ms. Martin, can you please join us? This is our Community Development Director, Ms. Martin. Just really quickly, I just want to thank you and the staff for bringing this item back to the Planning Commission, because we already did have our first reading on a couple of these items in the consent agenda. But as I recall, it was brought to the Planning Commission and thoroughly reviewed and then unanimously recommended to the council. Is that correct as far as these two items, these two second readings go?
That is correct.
Okay. Does this ordinance affect any building heights?
No, it does not.
Okay. And then just really quickly, how can the community find out about projects coming up? Where can they access the development code?
Absolutely. So as it relates to the development code itself, they can go online to the community development webpage on at groverbeach.org. They can access the development code on the left sidebar panel. It's available online. Each of the different chapters is split out. It talks about zoning. It talks about different development standards for fences, walls, hedges, you name it. We've got each ordinance is separated out by chapter. And if anybody has any questions, they can give our main line a call at 805-473-4520. Our zoning maps are also online. We also, if anybody is interested about major projects that are currently under review, have been approved and are under building permit review and or are under construction, our major projects page is also available online. You can scroll through each of the ones. It's an interactive map. So as you pull up one of the projects, the green bubble on the map itself will light up so that you can see exactly where it is. And then if you have additional questions, you can give us a call directly at 805-473-4520. I'm also always available. You can email me. My email is mmartin@groverbeach.org. Happy to answer any and all of your questions as it relates to how we got here, as well as what's going on in our community.
Thank you. I actually really appreciate looking at that map. I love looking at the projects coming up. I think it's very smart. It's the website itself is very smart. If there's somebody who cannot access internet, doesn't have a computer, they can still call the main line and get a hold of you and ask these questions and see the development code that way?
Absolutely, and if they have spare time, they can come in. I'll schedule a meeting. We can meet in our conference room and we can bring up the map on our website here, or if they just want to meet at the front counter, we can flip the screen around and show them what's going on in the community. So just give us a call, schedule a meeting, and we'd be happy to meet with you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Any questions? Want to pull an item? Okay. Any questions or want to pull an
I do
item?
have a question, but
Go ahead.
excuse my sick voice. I sound creepy to myself. So clearly there's a strong concern about heights and a desire to be better informed about building heights and changes to that and all of that, and I hear that. Is there anything on this consent agenda that has anything to do with changing heights or had the power to change any heights?
Thank you, Council Member. Good evening to you all this evening. As Ms. Martin said, there is nothing affecting the maximum building heights in the ordinance that's before the council. This is a technical amendment that is largely driven by the state in informing us about what we need to do to reflect state law. There is one change regarding elevator shafts that allows for a use permit beyond the maximum building height, but that is not affecting the building height itself. Nothing in this ordinance affects that.
So
Excuse me.
Just to be clear, so if people did want to have an impact on building heights, these are not the agenda items that would have that impact?
That's correct.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions?
Yeah, and actually, it might be a question for you too. And even though the circumstances change by different projects, can you describe how the noticing requirements work too, as far as when people get sent things?
Thank
if
you, that
it's
was my-
reactionary or if it's proactive, those kind of dynamics.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are mandated by government code to issue public mailing notices to residents within 300 feet of every proposed project. That has to occur 10 days prior to the public hearing. So 10 days prior to a planning commission meeting, property owners are mailed a notice within 300 feet. Now, if you also reside within the coastal zone, we are also obligated to issue a 100-foot tenant or occupant. So it goes specifically to the site itself, because a property owner living in a beach town, they might not actually be local, so it might go to New Mexico, et cetera. So we're also mandated to issue, mail out a 100-foot mailing notice to residents or occupants 10 days prior to the public hearing notice. There's some differences as it relates to a development code amendment. So for example, state law recently changed at the beginning of the year, partway through the beginning of this year. I can't remember the exact date, where now, prior to any ordinance amendment, the Planning Commission public hearing notice is required to be mailed and/or published in the paper 14 days prior to the public hearing itself. So prior to this most recent development code amendment at Planning Commission, we issued that 14 days prior. The Planning Commission meeting was held, and then we then had the 10-day notice for City Council.
Okay.
And just,
Well, I'm thinking we're going to have to pull an item then if you have any more additional questions.
oh, well, not just for that one. I had questions on other things.
Okay.
Just for clarifications.
All right.
And just one clarification for item 10, when it was mentioning the dump truck part, how is that different from the enterprise fleet contract that was done earlier this year?
Sure. The dump truck is a specialized vehicle, and the enterprise lease arrangement is really for routine vehicles like police vehicles, public works trucks that are more light duty maintenance trucks. This is a very heavy duty truck that will be used for many, many years. This was done under a cooperative purchasing agreement, so we're actually using competitive bidding, and this is a very good price for that dump truck.
And then the other thing for item 11 is, to the point of the questions brought up, is the thing in the agenda packet what we're going to see during the second reading, or is the second reading going to have full-blown all the changes, all the numerical details that's not in this?
So what'll be brought back within the ordinance itself already lists out what has been changed. It is just a recodification of the existing code into a new codification that's available online.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay.
Mine are more finance questions.
Okay.
So, just.
Did you want to pull an item, or was it more? Okay.
No, I just want to, financially, the dump truck was in the budget that was presented and approved, correct?
That's correct.
All right. And then with some of the new items seen in our July invoices, looking at some of those, they kind of seem to reflect some of our summer concerts and some of our vendors that we only work with during the summer. Am I correct in some of those?
In some of those, that's correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions or comments, discussion? Okay. Well, then, can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Sure, I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
We have a motion. Can I have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a we have a motion and a second. May I have a roll call, please? And
Councilmember Wyrick?
Aye.
Councilmember Tuggle?
Yes.
Councilmember McCory Driscoll?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Robert?
Yes.
Mayor G?
yes. All right. That now passes. Okay. We do not have any public hearing items. Does anybody need to take a break before we? Okay. We are going to take a 10-minute break. Let's be back at 7:32. Thank you so much. Now we're on. Okay. All right. Thank you so much for your patience for that short break. And I just want to thank the community also for being out here and speaking during our public comment period. So we will now move on to our regular business item, a homelessness response update. And I will call on City Manager Bronson and Police Chief Monroe for the PowerPoint presentation.
Thank you, Mayor and Council members, and good evening once again to you. What's before you tonight is an update on the work we're doing as a city in responding to homelessness issues in Grover Beach, and we'll also be joined by some key community partners as well. So just to start off with, homelessness is really and has been a key issue in our community and across our county, region, state, and nation for quite some time. It's been a focal point for our city for many years, a key priority for several different budget cycles from fiscal year 22 to fiscal year 25. It's taken up a significant amount of staff time and resources, council bandwidth. We've had numerous updates to your council over the years from 2021 to 2024, probably half dozen, if not 10 different agenda items relating to homelessness in some way. Most recently, we did update you all in April 2024, I should say, the council that was there in April 2024. I know 3 of you were not here as part of that conversation. We talked about the initial implementation of our camping ordinance, the work that was done in the Cabins for Change temporary housing facility. There was a request to waive development impact fees for the second temporary housing facility, Baleko on Barca. The council did approve using general fund reserves to pay about $49,000 for that development impact fee cost. And then tonight we wanted to report out on the second year of the implementation of our camping ordinance, talk about the progress of both the Cabins for Change and Baleko and Barca temporary housing facilities, and then touch on some future challenges with long-term funding as really the key challenge. So at this point, I'll turn it over to Chief Monroe, who will take the lead in talking about the work we're doing on the camping ordinance.
Good evening, Council. Thank you for listening. The camping ordinance, as you know, has been in effect for approximately 2 years, just over 2 years, as of March 27th, 2023. At that time, we brought the ordinance forward so that we could regulate timing, location, and the manner in which folks camped within the city of Grover Beach. Prior to that ordinance, there was different camps in various parts of the city, including Ramona Garden Park, in some of the wooded areas, and really all over the city, and there was no ordinance to help regulate that. So as you'll see, we believe that the ordinance has been very effective with camping over the last 2 years. The enforcement of the ordinance is led by the police department, specifically community service officers and Grover Beach police officers. The community service officers take lead. They are civilian professional staff employees. They are in a light blue uniform, and they serve as a liaison between our department, really, and the unhoused community, and also coordinate with the Five Cities Homeless Coalition when coordination needs to take place. We do focus on voluntary compliance. Every time we go out on Mondays and Thursdays currently right now, and we ask for voluntary compliance. We provide information and a resources page explaining what the requirements of the ordinance are prior to any citation or camp removal. That occurs every week within the city of Grover Beach. Since March of 23, we have issued 75 citations. Not a real large number over a 2-year period for the amount of camps that we used to have and still have in the city. 50 public works crew hours and $122,367 in debris removal costs have been dedicated to this issue. That is no small number. The good news is, currently, as we sit here today, we are finding about 0 to 3 camps each week. Prior to the ordinance being in place and just after the ordinance going into effect, there were weeks where we were dealing with 30 to 40 camps on a weekly basis. It was a large task, but we're very happy that, in fact, we recently went out and there was 1 camp last week. So they do pop up from time to time, but the ordinance does allow us to address them. And we've also seen a significant decrease from the community in just overall homeless complaints. And in my opinion, the city also looks a lot better than it did 2 years or even a year ago. So kind of in summary, the camping ordinance has been very effective. We're very pleased with how it's working. It seems to be working as designed. There has been an improvement in just overall safety in the city and in the open spaces. I know that the folks that live behind the Margarita area have been very pleased. I will say that that is one area we've noticed that, quite honestly, there have been really no camps at all over the past few months, which is a great thing. As we sit here today, we don't see a need for any type of additional fencing. You may remember that we did install some fencing along Margarita, which was effective for that particular area, but due to the low numbers and just the foot traffic, we don't see any need for additional fencing in any area in the city at this point. We are recommending one change to the ordinance, and that would be a decrease in the noticing requirement, or I'm sorry, the removal requirement of the camps from 72 hours down to 48. At the time when the ordinance went into place, there was case law and just general recommendation that 72 hours be the time frame. We are, looking at potentially recommending a 48-hour removal. That would mean that the police department would go out and provide notice, ask the person to move, and if they did not move within 48 hours as opposed to 72, we would be able to either remove them or their property, and of course we store their property as we're obligated to do, but it would allow us as a police department to react a little bit quicker. Also for Public Works, we've spoken with them, it would be more efficient for them at the 48-hour time period just because of the way they have to schedule the removal crews. So that would be the one decrease that we would recommend. And that is an update on the camping ordinance. I'll turn it back over to Mr. Bronson.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate that. And these pictures on screen were taken by me on joining the PD on a site visit a couple of weeks ago. You wouldn't have been able to recognize these areas a couple of years ago. Just the dramatic difference that this has made in the open space area is quite significant. And we talk about metrics and results. The ordinance results speak for themselves in what we've been able to achieve over the last 2 years in helping maintain a safe open space area. So shifting gears into the work that we're doing with our partner agencies, namely the Five Cities Homeless Coalition. The Cabins for Change housing facility opened up in December of 2022, as your council is aware. 20-unit facility, the first of its kind in SLO County. This kind of small unit modular facility. There have been examples all around the state, but this was the first one in SLO County on county property at 1523 Long Branch Avenue, and it is managed by the Five Cities Homeless Coalition. And I should mention Devin McQuaid, the assistant director of the coalition, is here this evening and will make some comments on behalf of the coalition. Here are some pictures of the facility when it was opening up, now just over 2 years ago, kind of tucked away right behind the Health Services campus there at Long Branch and 16th Street. The second facility opened up about a year ago, Beleco on Barca. It is on South 4th Street, adjacent to Huber Street. It was vacant land that the city purchased using American Rescue Plan Act funding several years ago. And then we entered into a long-term $1 ground lease with the Five Cities Homeless Coalition to develop and operate the site. It's a 30-unit facility, very similar to Cabins for Change. It has a 90-ish plus day time frame, and Devin can talk more about how that works and what they work with clients. It is well managed, very secure, and with both facilities, we're not aware of public safety issues. We took great care in making sure that we had safety and security for the occupants, the clients, the staff, and for the surrounding residents and businesses. This facility was funded by the Beleco Foundation. They provided some one-time funding for the development and then for the first year or so of operation for this facility. Here are some pictures from the facility when it opened up just about a year ago. So looking at both facilities together, and I'll summarize these, and Devin can go into more detail and provide some context. In the last 2 years, there have been 230 participants, with roughly half from Grover Beach, about 3 years for those for being unhoused before they entered the facility. And many of these were chronically unhoused individuals. 106 have graduated to stable housing, just about 60% of the participants. And that's a metric that I think we can all be proud of. That shows the continuum of going into a temporary emergency facility and then going to the next phase of the housing continuum. More permanent supportive housing, and then continuing on that pathway. The length of stay is 191 days on average, and so Devin can talk more about the challenges that we're facing with regards to lack of housing, lack of places for individuals to go to after the temporary facility. 181 participants connected to healthcare, 90% have some degree of income, but the most sobering stat, I think, is the one at the very bottom. Nearly 600 participants currently on the wait list. We have 50 units here. There is a demand for many more than 50 units across the area. So lastly, just touching on future challenges, I think we have made a strong case that we've made substantial progress in the last several years in our city as being a leader amongst our colleagues across the county. We're really proud of the work we've done. We put a lot of time and focus into this, and your council over many, many years has made this a high priority for us. We work closely with partner agencies, including the Five Cities Homeless Coalition and the county. We have Supervisor Ortiz-Legg here this evening. We have Linda Belch from the County Social Services Division, and the county has done a lot of work in prioritizing and planning for homeless response across the county. They have a plan that identifies 12-month, 3-year, 5-year objectives to help reduce the population of homeless individuals by 50% in a 5-year period, focusing on sheltering capacity, homeless prevention work, data sharing, expanding case management, all foundational work to help support homeless response and reduce our numbers countywide. And we are making a difference, and our county colleagues can share more about that. We're working closely with other cities in the county to help identify what we can do locally within our city, as well as being part of the network and region working across the board. Going forward, funding will be a big issue. A lot of the work has been done on one-time funding. Grant money from state and federal government in particular, stable, ongoing funding will be really necessary to continue and sustain these programs, to enhance them over time. At the same time, we're seeing cutbacks at the state level. We're seeing cutbacks at the federal level for housing and homeless prevention programs, and that will have a significant ripple effect going forward. The Homeless Services Oversight Committee, on which Councilmember Tuggle currently sits, will continue in its role of reviewing current policy countywide, determining priorities, looking at funding requests. There is a $2.5 million one-time county funding allocation in this year's budget that agencies are currently applying for that will help out this population over the next several years, but again, that's one-time funding. The ongoing funding from various levels is what's necessary to really move the needle long term, but we're making progress. We're making a lot of progress, and I'm pleased with the work we're doing here in our community. So with that, I'll yield the floor and turn it back to the council.
All right, thank you so much. And before we ask our questions and open it up for public comment, I would like to invite Devin McQuaid, Associate Director of Five Cities Homeless Coalition, up to speak, and then following her, Linda Belch and Supervisor Don Ortiz-Legg. Come on up.
All right, thank you. Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. I want to thank city staff and then obviously Grover Beach PD for helping put together this report. We work very closely, obviously, with the city, and we have a great relationship with the local police department, so we're grateful. First, I just want to say thank you. Quite literally, none of these projects would be here if it were not for the city support. If you recall, the first location, Cabins for Change on Long Branch, is county land, but it is in your city, and so we had to get city buy-in in order to move forward with that project. And then, as Matt mentioned, the Blanco on Barca site, we were able to secure the funding to develop that because the city offered back that 55-year ground lease. So none of those projects would have moved forward without the city support. And beyond just the shelters, they support our housing programs, they support our street outreach programs, they support our homeless prevention programs, and that is the full continuum of services. So beyond just sheltering folks, we try to make sure that folks are not falling into homelessness, and then once they're stably housed out of the shelters, that again, that they can maintain that housing. So we're grateful again for this partnership, for the county's partnership. We truly would not be able to provide these services without the investment that has been made here locally. To some of the statistics that you guys saw up there, again, the programs are 90-day programs. Our goal is not to put somebody back out on the street at that 90 days. So some of this goes, I think, to the changes in the camping ordinances and the folks that we're seeing. If you recall, when we opened these projects, we did have a prioritization model that we did for folks coming in. It's only 50 beds, and we wanted to make sure that those that were most vulnerable out on the streets were able to get into those beds as quickly as possible and spend less time out homeless living on the streets. So we do prioritize South County residents. As you can see, there's a large number of folks from the city of Grover Beach. We prioritize single women, seniors, youth, physically disabled, medically fragile, veterans, and folks folks that may have mental health or substance use issues in order to get them into shelter and then hopefully connected to the resources that are available. So in our first couple of years, we were able to kind of move people on a little more quickly. As you can see, our wait list has grown dramatically, and we see a lot more of that kind of dynamic prioritization come into play. So we have a lot of folks who may not have previously engaged with us, and we think because folks are moving around more and may not be able to stay put somewhere, our street outreach team can go out and talk to them, but they may not be willing to come in for services. They may be comfortable where they're at. And so we have a very highly resistant population that has not previously engaged with us that is now engaging with us. They are seeking to access shelter, they are seeking to access housing services, but for our case managers, it's obviously a different caseload than what we've previously seen. We definitely have a higher level of need. And so with, having some of those higher level of care participants coming into the shelter and a lack of affordable housing options, we are seeing some slightly longer lengths in stay. Typically, we're trying to connect folks, especially that are on a fixed income, to Section 8 vouchers, low-income housing, permanent supportive housing, and we have really limited opportunities here. So again, our goal is not to bring somebody in and say, you've hit your 90 days here at the cabins and we're going to put you out. It really is a progressive engagement model, and when we're starting with somebody who may have been out, you see, average length of time is 3 years homeless prior to coming in. That's an average. We have folks that are in the shelter right now who have been homeless for 10 plus years. And so we're really starting at square one with those individuals. Most of them don't have an ID, they don't have a birth certificate, they don't have a social security card. And so it takes a bit longer to get to that point where someone is housing ready. But, as Chief Monroe stated, and you saw in City Manager Bronson's report, I think we really are making an impact. Our street outreach team goes out now, and they're not really finding the folks that they used to find, because those folks are coming into our office and they're coming into our shelter. So again, we're just very grateful for the support that we have had. I'm happy to answer any questions, but we just want to reiterate the importance of not only these projects, but that given the need that is still out there, we have a great need for shelter and we have a great need for housing. That will be our challenge going forward, is not only sustaining these projects here, but finding ways to continue to increase access to those services across the county. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Linda Belch. I'm going to have them all speak and then.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the council. I am Linda Belch, Deputy Director for Adult and Homeless Services for the County of San Luis Obispo. I want to acknowledge and thank the City of Grover Beach for its partnership and close collaboration with the county and nonprofits to create significant and lasting change. From supporting the implementation of the county's first non-congregate shelter in 2022 and its expansion in 2024, which added 50 beds for those most in need, the City of Grover Beach has been an active and leading participant in the point-in-time count and other activities. The City of Grover Beach has shown up as a leader and strong supporter to improve the homeless services continuum of care. This collaborative approach between the cities, county, and nonprofits has paid off with an overall reduction of 19% in homelessness between the 2022 point-in-time count and the 2024 point-in-time count, and an even more impressive 30% drop in unsheltered homelessness. Addressing homelessness is a complex puzzle and not one that can be solved by any one entity. Therefore, I want to extend my gratitude for your partnership and express my excitement to continue this work together. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Ortiz-Leg.
Yes. Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. It's great to see you. Nice to be here. I was just reminiscing in my mind about when I first became a supervisor and coming down here and spending time with the Margarita neighborhood and having a room full of people that were so upset regarding what I would call almost they were being a little bit terrorized in many ways by those that were kind of taking advantage of, the no rules approach, and how far the city has come in regards to really managing this issue. Your leadership has been in the county just something that we talk about, we witness, and the numbers are there to demonstrate that. So I just want to say thank you, as Linda did, that in regards to the challenges of the unhoused, we want to thank the professionals first, because as she said, this is such a complex issue, and we are learning more. We have learned a lot in the last few years, and we're seeing that results. For example, that we had 1,140 people exit being unhoused in 2024. That's a pretty significant number across the county, and that's thanks to programs like yours. And having that number is going to be even growing. We just broke ground on another, something like your Barca and oh my gosh, how come I forgot the name of it right now?
Cabins?
The Cabins for Change. Yes, we have so many names that we have to remember. So the Welcome Home Village just broke ground last week. So we'll have 58 units there in San Luis Obispo. That's all going to help. What we've also done is that we have a new sobering center. That has happened since you guys came in. The law enforcement can drop off those that are inebriated at the sobering center, and it's kind of a warm handoff. It can begin to make those changes when they come to. They kind of, instead of throwing them back on the street, they have a chance to sober up and to find out more about the services and things like that. We have established a crisis and access team, and so that works with your police department and all the police departments around the county and the sheriff's department, and that's really from the behavioral health department. And they've had 710 interactions just within the last year with those that have addiction issues and all, which we know it's part of this complex problem that we have. In the last year, over 9.7 million has been awarded to homeless projects. We have our new homeless management information system. That is bringing in those numbers and that result. That's something that's also been accomplished since we first started this conversation here. We have 5.5 million given for just housing. So that's the housing that we need to have to continue on. So once they have their 90 days or more, that there's another set of housing that's for them, permanent and semi-permanent housing. This past week, the board began a process of creating a new fund through our housing and planning department to do some more multifamily housing, and from that we hope to get some funding that will then go to People Self-Help Housing and HASLO and places like that. So we're continually working at this holistic approach of looking at the whole person of where they're at and how we can help them get into stable life as well as productive life and a safe life. As it was mentioned, we have a high population of fragile seniors. We have a high population of aged out youth. They all need a lot more support and access to services. So with that, I think that that's just a good list of all the things that we've got going on. As was mentioned in the note, we did provide $2.5 million in one-time funding in our budget this year to make sure that these cabins will continue to provide those services, because we know what the investment was, and we wanted to make sure that this continues to have the services after we've spent so much time and effort. And I just want to make a big shout out regarding the camping ordinance. It's something that I talk about a lot. It was really great to get the report tonight. I think that we're looking at it in certain areas of the county. It's a way to do what we've always said we wanted to do, and that is to have compassion, but compassion with order. We've got to have that order, and there's certainly areas that still need that order to come. So with that, I just want to thank you so much for bringing this forward and letting us have a few minutes to share this information. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Ortiz-Legg. I also want to note that starting January 1st, Ms. McQuaid will be the Executive Director of the Five Cities Homeless Coalition, so we're very excited to see her move up in that role and come present to us and give us a little taste of what she's going to bring us, so thank you. I would like to open it up for questions from our council members for our people here before the public comment.
I have a question about the $127,000 in debris costs. I think over the course of over 2 years, I don't think that number is bad at all. My question is do you see that number being less because we have significantly less people that we're finding in these encampments?
Yes.
You don't have to have hard numbers, just
No, absolutely. I think you're right on there. I think that as we are encountering zero camps, 1 or 2, and I will say that we do believe that the quicker, if we were to decrease that time frame from 72 to 48, that will also decrease the amount of trash and everything that needs to be picked up, just because they're not there as long. But yeah, I think that makes sense that those costs should go down. And Director Ray, I'm not sure if he's in the audience still, but he may have some other comments.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just early on, we were out there cleaning almost weekly when the ordinance was first implemented, and now it's periodic. So those numbers should go down over time.
Okay. Again, I think that that's a tremendous job, and over the length of time and the number of people that you have been able to find housing for, I don't think it's bad, but I also was really more curious, do we need to kind of keep that number in mind, or might we see a lower number moving forward? So thank
I'd
you.
also mention that probably a majority of those costs were early on costs, where the camps were extremely large, where they needed literally tractors and several trucks to take stuff out, and we're not seeing that. This time it's just a little bit here and there.
Well, great job, thank you.
Councilmember Wyrick?
Yeah, this question actually might be for Linda to start off with is, since one of the things that was being recommended is for us to drop to the 48 hours notice since the California Interagency Council on Homelessness to bring in line with that. Since for the HAP funding, which I should say the acronym too, because no one knows what that means. So the homeless housing assistance and prevention, the HAP funding through the state. I know that since the governor's put a lot of pressure on cities to be more aggressive and in compliance with different aspects for the encampment ordinance, does our ordinance, outside of just that 48-hour change, is there anything that you're aware of that might be coming down the line that we'd have to change in addition to that? Or from what you've all seen for our encampment, we should be good to stay competitive and eligible for that kind of state funding?
Yeah. Thank you so much for the question. No, I don't believe there's any other adjustments. I believe that this ordinance is in alignment with what the state will be looking for in terms of competing for future grants.
Okay, thank you. And one thing this might be a Devin question then, is since our city's done a lot of things, homelessness kind of throughout the region's had some reductions in different areas, but though I have and you probably understand, a general concern about other social safety nets falling out later on too, where this could increase. Is this a good time for, and whether it's the Five Cities Homeless Coalition facilitating it, or just having all the different, because we have a countywide plan, but for kind of a South County focus of different, the cities, the unincorporated areas, the organization, others on making sure we're all synced up as best we can. So if and when, sorry, my dog takes medicine, so at 8 o'clock.
What's 8 o'clock?
Yeah. So that by the time those, that possibility of uptake does happen, that we're all synced up more while things are a little bit slower. Is it a good time to do that, or you're more on the ground than I am on this?
Yeah, I think, on a county-wide level, this is a conversation that's been happening for quite some time. We've been talking about not just our fiscal cliff, but obviously with all the changes happening with funding and Medicaid, what are the other things that are going to come of this? If folks start to lose access to food stamps, what are the implications going to be in that? Are we going to see an increase in a rise for, homeless prevention? We do have kind of a unique county down here in South County that may be impacted in different ways. We have a much larger, farm worker population that may be heavily impacted. And so I know in the past we've had kind of a South County, coalition meeting to discuss the coming changes and how, the agencies and the cities can all respond and be, joined in that effort as we start to see these changes. I would definitely advocate to get something like that going. And I know we have members that sit on the HSOC Homeless Services Oversight, sorry, I'll try not to use acronyms either, Homeless Services Oversight Committee, and that's also a great forum to start having those conversations.
Okay, thank you.
Questions to my right?
So of our community members that were unhoused, some of them ended up in the Cabins for Change and other more stable places. Do we know where those that either didn't accept the help or the 500 on the waiting list, do we have a sense where they are in our community? Mm-hmm. Anybody? Yeah.
Yeah.
Just stand up.
Would you like to sit down over here?
We'll just say something. Thank you. Folks move around, obviously. So we do see that, throughout, especially with Grover Beach implementing the camping ordinance, we have seen that people have, either moved into Pismo Beach or moved into Rio Grande. We also try to, relocate as best we can. So reunification is one of the services that we provide, particularly through street outreach. We also have a new program that's in the county jail, and so we actually work with folks. We have a case manager who's embedded there 4 days a week, and so when folks are incarcerated and they're pre-release, she'll actually meet with them. And one of our main options there is reunification. So we have definitely seen a pretty big increase, I would say, over the last year or two of folks seeking reunification. Our process for that is making sure that somebody has an identified family or family member or friend that is willing to house them. We can purchase a ticket outside. We've had other programs outside of our area that have been willing to accept folks. So if we don't have an appropriate, treatment program or a shelter bed available, but they have somewhere where, they have family ties or connections and there is a bed available, we could also relocate people in that way. So I think it's a bit of a shift. Some people just get into housing straight from the street. Our street outreach team has about a 30% success rate of literally going from street to housing. So those folks are not getting into the cabins, they're just moving directly into housing. So there's quite a few different avenues of where those folks are going. And some folks are just still on the street and we see them every day.
Don't go anywhere. I have more questions for you. So as we're coming off 101 4th Street to the Pismo side, which is not our jurisdiction, well, it's actually not Pismo's either, it's state, do we have any idea of the numbers of people that are finding housing or homeless, I don't know what the right word is, temporary, housing for themselves outside in that area? Or is that a new hot, did a lot of the people that were in our community move there, or do we know, or do we have any sense of numbers there?
Do you have that answer?
I can definitely say that there are more on the state park and the Pismo side. They do split jurisdiction there. I couldn't tell you as we sit here tonight exactly how many folks are over there, but we've definitely seen that that's been more of the hot spot than Grover Beach.
Hotspot's the word I was going to use. This is going in a direction because I have a concern about the shifting in the ability in the coastal zone to clear areas because of fire mitigation and the shift in that. And that just seems, I live off of 4th, so I drive it all the time, and I was like, the RCD is going to clear this up eventually, growth-wise, and just kind of wanting that to be on our radar. And is there anything, is it on your radar, or are we having those conversations? I know they're not clearing yet. I think it's not till 2026, but.
I can tell you that we haven't seen any clearing. We also haven't been notified of any clearing.
That's what I'm most concerned about.
It's
a lot of layers.
We have not. And,
okay.
And I can just say, typically our process is we are, given notice before there's going to be a clearing, and so we'll go out either with or without PD with our street outreach team, let folks know what's coming, and offer our services. And again, I think the biggest challenge is that we don't have immediate shelter to offer, so it is a bit of a tough conversation, but we at least try to get folks to come down to the office, get some food, get some water, and start engaging with our case managers. So ideally, they'll be able to get into a shelter bed eventually.
Thanks. And thank you for all of the work. I mean, it's been amazing to watch in such a short period of time, a shift. And it's been compassionate work, to echo your.
I was going to say, I did have one comment on Councilmember McCory Driscoll's about the trash cleanup. I did want to mention that 5 cities recently received an award. The county is restarting their Blue Bag program, and I'm not sure if you are all familiar with that, but it is a program where we can use our street outreach workers, distribute trash bags down to local, encampments or folks that are camping outside for them to clear their own trash. It was pretty successful in its pilot, which I think was back in 2018, 2019. They are revamping that program, and we will be one of the partners. It's a great way for our outreach workers to engage with folks and, come in with something to offer. We typically find it's a pretty well-received program, and then we provide the avenue to clear the trash. So I think that will also mitigate, some of the clearing that the city's having to doing by folks just cleaning up after themselves.
Yes. Any other questions? Okay, I just had a question about fencing. I know that we put a fence up close to Margarita, I believe, and it was rather expensive. Do you remember how much it was and when we did it? Taking into account that we are now in 2025 and things are more expensive.
Yes, Mayor. We put in the fencing at the bend at Charles Margarita about 3 years ago now at a cost of about $30,000. And we put in very secure fencing. We did not want to put in chain link fencing that could be cut very easily. So it is wrought iron fencing that cannot be scaled easily. And we have not seen any issues there. But that fencing is expensive. And so if we were to put in similar fencing along North 4th Street in today's dollars with a larger area, we're probably looking at between $50,000 and $100,000. And just right now, given the numbers, we don't feel there's a need for that response just yet. We can still monitor it, and we can come back to that at a later date.
All right, thank you so much for that insight. Question? No? Okay. All right, so I will now open up public comment on this item. Does anybody, I don't have any speaker slips. Does anybody want to come up and speak to this item? Seeing nobody come forward, is there anybody on the line? Then I will close public comment. And I will bring it back to the council for direction for our, do we need a motion or it's just direction, correct? Okay, so direction for our staff.
Yes, 48 hours makes way more sense to me, especially if it's in line with state law.
Okay,
I agree.
okay,
I agree.
okay.
Yeah, I agree on that.
Wow, great job, everybody.
I would like
Yes.
to add one thing. If we did 48 hours, could the police department change their shifts from Monday and Wednesday instead of Monday and Thursday?
There would be a shift, yes, and that would also help with the trash pickup because sometimes
Right.
it is very hard to schedule on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. or
Exactly,
Monday,
that's what I was
so.
thinking, because Thursday they'd move in and wouldn't be out to the following Monday. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so we have agreement on that. I just want to mention that I had an individual from the Margarita community come up to me recently and just said thank you to you all for the leadership and making these changes and enforcing it. It's because they did, like Supervisor Ortiz said, they were here speaking into it, and I just really appreciate all the hard work that's been done. I also remember when the city entered the 55-year lease with Five Cities Homeless Coalition, and I think the council at that time made the joke saying, like, none of us will be here, and I plan to be here. As I'm going to be here, and I'm going to go up to that podium and say, 55 years ago. So anyways, I know, yeah. So thank you so much to our staff. Thank you, Chief. Thank you so much. And do we have another comment?
Yeah, no, and it's just a follow-up part as far as consensus from the council on direction that if, for instance, the Five Cities Homeless Coalition does want to facilitate a South County focus, part two, like I said, so we could all have everything lined up amongst all the different players while things are a little bit slower and manageable, that our city does participate with council members, staff, all the different resources. I mean, some of them are natural partners too, but just to make sure that we are on board with moving forward as a city that way too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have concurrence on that as well? Good. Okay, thank you so much. All right, thank you. We're now going to move on to item number 13, the subsea transoceanic cables update. City Manager Bronson.
Thank you, Mayor, and making a transition from homelessness to subsea cables. I'll just briefly kick this off, and then I'll introduce our speaker. This is an item that we have not brought to our council in over 5 years regarding the subsea transoceanic cables that are located in Grover Beach. It's my pleasure to introduce Chris Brungart with RTI Infrastructure. He will be giving the presentation tonight about the cables that are currently in Grover Beach, future cables, and some context and benefits of how this supports our community.
Thank you, Matt. Madam Mayor, councilmen, council people, staff, community. My name is Chris Brungart.
Do you mind putting the microphone just a
Yep,
little
yep.
bit closer to
Sorry
your,
about that.
sorry, we need to get a better range on our microphones. Thank you.
Chris Brungart, Vice President of RTI Infrastructure. I'm here to talk about subsea fiber optic cables, one of my favorite subjects. Go ahead. You're on the slides? Oh, I have the power. So what are subsea, well, what I hope to cover is a little bit of the history of subsea cables. Why Grover Beach? Why is this area developed for subsea cables? And what does the future look like? Okay. So who is RTI Infrastructure? Well, we're an infrastructure development company. We focus on the subsea cable market. So we build the small data centers, cable landing stations, the infrastructure, the conduits and pipes that house the subsea cable. And we also do all the entitlement work. So we work with the cities and counties and states. We do the environmental record documents and get all that entitlement and the ability for cables to come across the ocean and land somewhere in California. we we have become the go-to firm for anything landing in California. So I've got a 35-year history of working in subsea cables in San Luis Obispo County and in California. Of all the cables that have landed in California, I've been directly involved with about 80% of them. So there's not much that actually happens without me knowing about it. So we have become that go-to firm. Cables, people that want to land here find their way to us. So what is a subsea cable? Well, it's a tiny, huge cable. So it's very, very small in stature, but it packs quite a punch. It's about 1/2 inch in diameter. If you see the figure on the upper right, you see the 3 different types of cable. Well, the furthest one to the right is 1.5 inches in diameter. It's got armoring on it. We armor it where we're worried about vessel anchors or fishing gear or something like that. But when it's out in the deep ocean, it's that. It's the size of a garden hose laying on the ocean floor. The amount of telecommunication capacity it has, though, that is carried in these little fiber optic strands is enormous. It's too big for me to explain. It takes a big boat to land them, and when we're on the shelf, we actually bury it under the ocean floor to protect it from human interaction. Once we drop off the shelf or in deep water, it doesn't need the protection, so it's just laid on the ocean floor. The subsea cable market is enormous. There are hundreds of subsea cables around the world. About 95% of all international communication happens on a subsea fiber optic cable. The California market is strong. If you think of when the internet first started to develop, a lot of it happened here in California. There are 6 hubs, 6 different areas in California where concentrated number of cables come in. The little yellow, the numbers in the little yellow circles are the numbers of cables that land in each of those hubs. So up in Eureka, you have 2. The Point Arena area, you have 4. 5 just north of here in Morro Bay. 6 in Grover Beach, the most. And then there are 6 more in the El Segundo and Hermosa Beach areas. So there are about 27 active cables now. There are more than that in the water. Some are decommissioned, and those will be coming out in the next few years, which makes room for others to come in. And there are several cables that are in the planning stages that are targeting or hoping to land somewhere in California. So why Grover Beach? Why this area? The history of cables in this area started in the early 60s with the first coaxial cables, the copper cables that came in from Hawaii. Landed up in, it's called Morro Bay. The industry calls it Morro Bay. It's really Los Osos where those come in. Then in the mid-'80s, when fiber optics first started, the first cables came in that same location, duplicating the paths of those copper cables. Then there's a wave of cables in the early 2000s, more cables into there at Morro Bay, and that's when the need to develop a diverse landing site locally came into being. So 3 cables were then landed in Grover Beach. That's when Grover Beach first became a hub, is in the early 2000s. Fast forward 20 years, and the second wave came in between 2020 and 2025. From 2025 going forward, who knows? We'll talk about that in a few minutes, what the future might look like. So more specifically, why Grover Beach and this area? If you look at this map, you see the National Marine Sanctuary to the north. It blocks the entire Central Coast. Then there's a gap. There's more sanctuaries. You get LA. Well, cables coming across the ocean really aren't looking to connect in Grover Beach. They're really looking to get to those big hubs, the LA and San Francisco, those areas where you get there and you can connect to hundreds of networks. So if you can't go into the sanctuaries, then the next closest place to get to San Francisco Bay Area is San Luis Obispo County and this area. So it lies equally between both San Francisco and LA. So if you get here, you can carry traffic both directions. So there is a benefit to coming in here. And then Grover Beach specifically offers diversity from Morro Bay. So everything was going to Morro Bay. It started to become saturated. And in the telecommunications world, diversity is exceedingly important for network resiliency. Diversity means you have more than one path between two locations. So you may have a cable that comes out of here. If you don't want one event, underwater landslide or some event on land, to interrupt service and completely interrupt your service. You want to be able to have a backup plan or a third plan of other cables. So diversity is a very important part of telecommunications networks. So in Grover Beach specifically, in 2000, the first 3 cables came in. It's 2 projects, 3 cables. So the Pacific Crossing cable that goes, one of the cables goes to Japan, the other to Seattle. And then also at that time, the Pan American Crossing cable, which goes to Mexico and Costa Rica and Panama. So then 20 years later, we needed to bring in more cables, and this area was desirable. So our company started development process, and we've now developed infrastructure that can accommodate 4 additional subsea cables, 3 of which are installed, 2 of which are operational. The first one we installed in 2020. It's installed and in the ocean, but it's not hooked up. We're having difficulties with some Chinese-U.S. relations. Nothing to do with tariffs, but that cable system is it's laying there ready to be turned on, but cannot be operated. There's no time frame on when that might happen, so it's terribly unfortunate. But the good news is the Juno project, which did land last year, goes to Japan. It is operational, and it's generating revenue for the city now. Then the third one that is in the water now is the Bifrost cable. It was installed late last year. It's in its final system testing, and we expect within the next month or 2 for that to be turned up and to start triggering the revenue flow for the city. Here's a quick map of those cables I just discussed that come into Grover Beach. It's kind of interesting, kind of neat to be in the city and see where you're connecting, the rest of the world you're connecting to. So the real question now is, what's the future hold? Well, we know there's a very strong market. The subsea cable market is going to remain strong because of AI-driven needs. And the people that are driving it are the hyperscalers, the Googles and the Apples and the Amazons and the Metas and Microsofts of the world have tremendous data capacity needs. So they're driving the industry with other large telecommunications carriers. Have you heard of data centers? Those have to communicate with each other. Just one example of how that drives this need for capacity. You think the data centers all have separate data on them. They really don't. It's all duplicated. Not all, but largely duplicated. So you have data sitting in a place. They want that same data sitting all around the world. So when you click your mouse, it's there instantly. You're not waiting for something to download from Singapore. So even at the speed of light, that matters. So that drives a need for additional capacity. So we think that the market's going to continue strong. For California, continued strong. Over the last 35 years, 27 cables. There have been more of it, some are obsolete. So almost a cable a year, a little less than that. So it's not a brisk pace, but it's kind of steady, and we would call that strong. Some of the existing cables that went in that first wave in the 2000s are obsolete, will be coming out. More cables will be needing to come in behind those as replacements. What's that mean specifically for Grover Beach? I'd love to say it's great, but it's a bit of a mixed bag. And we have those same strengths that we've always had. The diversity issue. We're diverse from Northern California, Central California, diverse from Oregon, diverse from Morro Bay. So you have that. It's between LA and San Francisco. You still have that strength. The other big thing is the backhaul is established. So backhaul is the term for the communications comes in from the marine cable to a cable station, and from that point, it needs to be taken to the large data centers. So it's called backhaul. So local companies have built very robust backhaul, like Astound. Some of them are here tonight. You probably are very familiar with work that they've done in the city and around the city. So they are able to provide this connectivity that these cables need, because it's a very large capacity. It takes a lot of infrastructure terrestrially to support them. So it's a very strong, well-established area in that respect. But the challenges are, biggest challenge is this offshore marine sanctuary that has just come into being, the Chumash Heritage National Marine Sanctuary. If you remember the earlier graph, I said sanctuaries are no-fly zones. It's not that it's illegal to build a cable there. You can put cables across them, but the processes and the conditions make it untenable. For example, you cannot get a long-term agreement to cross the sanctuary. Best you can get is a 5-year permit. Well, you're not going to build a cable all the way across the ocean and bet on a 5-year deal and bet that the next administration is going to honor it and bet. So Grover Beach becomes very attractive. And it's not because of environmental impact with the sanctuary. It's this. It's a very, very light touch. You have some impact when you first install, and it just lays there. Nothing, it doesn't emit anything. It's a very friendly part of the environment. So that sanctuary, you can see here, it blocks Grover Beach. It blocks the entire thing. So if the same rules continue to apply, there will be no more cables landed in Grover Beach. Some of the good, though, that has come is it has stimulated the cable industry to start taking on some of that legislation. So we're working in D.C. now, lobbying to try to amend the Marine Sanctuaries Act to make it more palatable for cables, to find a way to get a long-term deal, to set the financial parameters so it's more predictable. So we've made tremendous progress. I really believe that within the next 2 years that crossing sanctuaries will become more palatable and more able for cables to do. Good news, bad news. Good news, yeah, that frees up Grover Beach again. Bad news is it might open up direct paths into the Bay Area. So I can tell you there's a demand to get cables more directly into San Francisco Bay. But with more cables, more capacity, more demand, you still have more need for diversity. So there's still a play for Grover Beach. We're set to we have facilities to install another cable. We have plans on the drawing boards for 2 more, and those, of course, are pretty speculative at this point. So with that, what questions do you have?
Well, thank you for the information, and I think it's a lot of information. Do we have any questions from our council members? I'll start to my right.
I have so many questions, but they're not appropriate for this venue. And
Yeah, we'll have to call you
coffee 'cause
later.
I didn't realize how much I don't understand. But other than that, no, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
If they were to ease up on those sanctions, would they relocate the cables from Grover or lay new ones?
Oh, new cables. No,
Yeah, so
there
we'd still
will be no
have our cables here in
relocation of.
Grover.
Yeah, once they're there, they're there. We're working with them now to be able to cover the existing. We'll be able to do that without having legislative changes or mechanism we can do because we're kind of grandfathered in. So existing cables are fine.
Thank you.
The bore pipes we have sitting there that we paid for, they're now just collecting dust. That's a different story.
To my left.
Do you have an ask of us this evening?
I do not. Continue to be a friendly city to work with.
Thank you. I think we will.
Hi, Chris. And this question might not come as a surprise from when I toured your site. But as far as, since obviously the work that's being done has big impacts, very good stuff. We're glad to have it all here. Is your company or others within the tech industry that's in the affected market looking to be more engaged partner within the community in supporting different things within Grover Beach? Since obviously major footprint. So that's just one of the areas I was curious about.
Yeah, that's a very interesting question, and that we do have, I guess, a big imprint in terms of capacity, but not in terms of facilities and assets, and certainly not profile. the interesting thing is none of you can connect to this cable right away. It has to go somewhere else to get back to here. These fiber optic cables, think of it as a huge major transmission power line coming in. You can't plug your cell phone into it to blow it up. So it has to be stepped down, it has to be processed so that you can then connect it. So yeah, if I call my buddy in Tokyo, it's from here, it's most likely going on one of these cables, but it goes to San Francisco first and back. So we don't have a large presence, and we don't want high visibility. We really want to be under the radar screen. The cables are owned by the people that I talked about. They don't want to be in the papers, so it's more their names are disclosed in certain licensing because they have to be. But other than that, we really just try to be very low profile.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you so much. I will now open up public comment for this item. I do not have any speaker slips. All right, okay, who wants to go first? I'll let you guys figure it out.
Sorry, it's going to be me. Lauren Westfall again. I like the fiber optic issue in his presentation, but it's quite interesting that as soon as the wastewater loan that was found that actually funded part of this project and the Astound project, and that you guys have been budgeting the $100,000 in the budget, and now all of a sudden, now that all of this has come to light and to your guys' attention, and the last budget meeting, it was said that if the money isn't going to come to fruition, that you guys were basically going to cut it out of the projected budget. And now all of a sudden, the money, whoop, appeared. My question is when did that $100,000 get paid to the city? Because according to your report, it said that you guys received it, the initial payment. And now that you guys will be getting it annually, June 1st, starting 2026. But your staff report states, and looking at Robert Roberts' face, I'm wondering if he missed it, but your staff report actually stated that you guys initially received $100,000. You also did not note if it's going to be $100,000 per each cable, which I'm pretty sure that's what the agreement was. But I understand that the first cable is not operable. It's not going to be operable. So when the second cable does become operable, or excuse me, the third cable, are we going to receive another $100,000? I can't remember because I was busy researching something else. How many actual cable lines is it? And again, is it going to be $100,000 per cable line that's operable? Because that's a lot of revenue for this city. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
And you can pay the water funds.
I feel like Randy. I have an email from Matt, and it actually states that there's 3 cables. We're going to get $100,000 a year. We've gotten none of it yet. So it's really interesting that all of a sudden we got some money. And it's sad because for how many years have we been putting it in the budget and spending money like we had it and then taking it out? I fish. Too bad there's not somebody here that could talk about the damage to the ocean that it does. I mean, it's a fact. I go out there, I see those cables in the ocean. My buddy's got real good equipment. But the fact that we've been deceived about this 100,000, 300,000 a year is just sad. It's just sad.
Thank you for your comments. Mr. Myrick, did you want to come? No? Okay, sit it out. Okay, sounds good. Anybody else wish to come up and speak on it?
Well, I want to say thank you to Digital West and Astound and all of you for hanging in on this. I'm delighted that we've got the cables. Wasn't aware that they're not great for wildlife. I'll have to look at that one. But I just want to say thank you, and I'm so thrilled that actually we're going to be getting $100,000 from them for using our right-of-way, because there's a certain sewer plan from a certain adjacent city that wants to pay us nothing for digging up our streets and using our right-of-way. Maybe they ought to be paying us $100,000 a year or more. They're using much more of our right-of-way.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Peterson. Anybody else wish to? Thank you.
Yeah. It's Supervisor Dawn Ortiz-Legg. Just wanted to say it was fascinating. Always knew about the cables, but didn't have quite the detail that we received tonight. Thought that was great. And on behalf of the county, I think that we would like to help lobby at the national level with our lobbyists in regards to finding a path through the sanctuary, because this is a critical piece of infrastructure, and we know that we, in order to compete, in order to make money in the future, we're going to have this infrastructure in place. So this is an opportunity that I believe that we can get 3 votes to send a letter in support of any action at the national level. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Supervisor. Anybody else wish to come up and speak on this item? Seeing nobody come forward, is there anybody on the line? No, so I will now close public comment for this item. Just a couple of questions, because I remember reading in our staff report and previous that the agreement was that we would receive this money when the cables came online. So the questions are, how many cables are there? How much do we get paid for each? When did we receive this $100,000?
Sure, and actually I'll start off and say that the 3 existing cables that were installed and operational in 2000 generated about $100,000 annually in revenue to the city under a previous agreement at that time. In 2020, we approved a new agreement, a separate agreement, with RTI Infrastructure for up to 4 additional cables. And the provisions of that agreement were $100,000 upon the operation of each cable, and then $100,000 annually paid in 4 quarterly installments over a 25-year period. So that was part of the agreement that the council approved in 2020. As Chris can attest to, I've been very diligent in contacting him over the years regarding the payments. And it is true that it took us longer to generate this first $100,000 because the first cable just went operational in June. Completely out of our control. As Chris can attest to, I contacted him very frequently to ask about the status, but keeping in mind that this is a probably billion-dollar cable operation involving lots of delicate issues and involving, in the case of the first cable, Chinese territorial issues, way outside of Grover Beach's control. So unfortunately, we did have to delay the receipt of the first $100,000 until we had an operating cable, again, outside of our control. That happened in June. We were notified that the first cable that is operational is now in place, and so that triggered the first $100,000 payment in June, which we did receive, and now we're on track to receive 4 quarterly installments each year of $100,000 for that cable over a 25-year period. As Chris mentioned, we have the second cable that will be operational here shortly, and that will trigger another $100,000 and the same provisions, and we hope that the original cable will eventually become operational, but there's no timeline for that. So bottom line, we have up to 4 additional cables through RTI. Each one generates $100,000 initially, $100,000 annually, paid over quarterly installments. We now have this money budgeted as part of our general revenues, helping support city services and projects.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions or comments? No? All right, thank you so much. Oh, go ahead. Oh, yes, sorry. Of course, yes.
Having been doing this for 35 years, very deeply involved in the environmental reviews of each one of these cables. I've got a very thorough understanding of what they do and do not do in the environment. I just wanted to address some misconceptions. They do not have environmental impact. One of the things people think is because it carries some electricity that's got electromagnetic field. It does, but it's DC current. Alternating current generates large fields. DC current generates very small fields. It's a low energy cable. The amount of electromagnetic field this generates 1 foot away is not distinguishable against the magnetic field of the Earth. So if you had a meter, you couldn't read it. It's like holding a match up against the sun. You couldn't see the match. So there is no impact from that. When it's installed in the ocean, yes, it gets installed under the ocean floor. So there's some minor disturbance on the ocean floor. But once it's there, it's there. It doesn't do anything else. So the environmental documents that are done are very rigorous through State Lands Commission or whomever. They're mitigated negative declarations because the potential impacts are mitigated to less than significant.
Thank you.
And Mayor, just a final point. I just wanted to mention that we have some folks from Astound here in the audience that wanted to be here tonight to support this item. While the Astound work is not directly related to the subsea cables, the Astound Digital West Broadband Network is not related to this work. They wanted to be here tonight as well because there is some synergy with having these different companies together. There is a data center landing site that Astound is building out at 550 Farrell Road. And so that's part of our technology industry that we have in the community, as well as the peak Wi-Fi facility that will be under construction here shortly at Long Branch and 3rd, 17,000 square foot space to increase the number of jobs in our community, the number of opportunities we have. So we have a small and mighty technology cluster in Grover Beach, and the cables are one part of that.
And not one Nicholas City money was ever used to support the development of these cables. We did that. But it's a very good point on Astound. I talked about the backhaul that they bring. These cables act as a magnet to draw that here. So when they build facilities and systems to come serve these cables, they can also serve the public along the way. So the increase in their ability to serve the public is directly related to their need to serve these cables.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Do you have a question?
Oh, no, I just want to make one statement that it's interesting for me because for these subsea transoceanic cables, someone's car alarm's going off. But it's always weird because usually I have to describe where I grow up and stuff in Grover Beach, and people in the tech industry, strangely enough, knew Grover Beach because of this. It was always one of those weird things that people across the state do. Usually I'm always telling them, yeah, I'm in here and this. They're like, oh yeah, we know where it is. And so to the credit of how important these are too, that was my first sign. I didn't during that time I didn't even know they existed. I've grown up here too, so thank you very much for being choosing Grover those many years ago.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Any other comments or questions from our council? No? Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here to Astound and to Chris and giving us this update as to why we received the money, and that's why we're having this update. So thank you so much. We're now going to move on to item number 14, the fiscal year 2024 to 2025 year-end council goals implementation report, and I'll call on Assistant City Manager Erickson.
Thank you. I'll
we'll
for the
wait a
room to
second for
clear real
everybody to get out. Oh,
I won't take it personally.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of it.
We're going to have to get coffee with them later. Alrighty. Thank you so much, Assistant City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and good evening, Council. Tonight, I'm here to just give you an update on our year-end implementation status for your Council's fiscal year 2024-25 major city goals. Just a little background on our process. We got our initial set of council goals back in 2017-18, and then building upon those goals each year, the council revisits them. Most recently, in October of 2023, we did conduct our biennial community survey, and then on March of that year, the council adopted the fiscal year 2023-25 council goals. Those goals were then revisited again in February of 2024 and reaffirmed. So our major city goals are economic development and community promotion, housing and homelessness, public safety, and street maintenance and complete streets. These are the goals with which staff gave most resources to, both in funding and staff time. We have some other important goals, which is our second tier of goals. Those are building and facility improvements, community engagement, water supply, and resiliency. And then our kind of lowest tier of goals under this structure was address as resources permit. So if we're able, that is city and school partnership, code compliance, and environmental sustainability. So at year end, we have approximately 95% of all of the tasks and work programs we've presented to you that have either been completed or have substantial progress. That number would be 100% were it not for some three projects that have been deferred for things that are beyond city staff's control. Most notably, in K-14 program, we did have to delay some of those projects until we could get adequate sewer rates in place in order to continue sewer work that needed to be done ahead of those K-14 projects. So in the area of economic development and community promotion, we had 14 tasks work programs. 5 of those have been completed and 8 are in progress. 1 is deferred. Most notably, we've continued to promote the Visit Grover Beach brand. It continues to grow and gain followers and put us more on the tourism map. We have also worked diligently with the South County Chambers and our local businesses on buy local programs, the Business Bingo program, Shop and Win, and a business grants program to support our businesses, in particular along West Grand Avenue as we went through our Epic Street project that we had this year. We also implemented a new enterprise permitting and licensing system, including a public permit processing portal for the public for quicker processing and more efficient processing of our permits. In the area of housing and homelessness, we had 11 tasks. 5 of those have been completed and 6 are in progress. As has been discussed here at length, we do have quite a few mixed use developments going into the city now, including one that is giving us affordable units in the city, and we're excited for that to open later this year. We are also continuing to develop a web page as Community Development Director Martin mentioned earlier, where people can find all of our current housing development projects in the various stages of approval. And we've submitted an application for a CDBG grant on behalf of the 5 Cities Homeless Coalition to continue the good work that they're doing at the Cabins for Change and Belayco properties. For public safety overall, there were 9 work programs. 4 of those have been completed and 5 are in progress. The police department continue to implement their wellness program for police officers and PD staff. They also really worked hard on community engagement this year, and we had a drone academy for kids, a movie night, Citizens Police Academy, National Night Out, and that included a fantastic drone show that everyone really enjoyed. And then they also have implemented a lot of the technology upgrades that we had from a federal grant of about $500,000. The 5 Cities Fire Authority has completed its agreement with the county to fund emergency medical services and fire services in the Oceano service area. That allowed us to onboard 5 new firefighters for the FCFA and also to promote captains and engineers within their ranks. And then they've also begun a standards of coverage assessment, so we know how we're doing, how we stack up there. And then finally, in street maintenance and complete streets, we had 5 tasks. 3 of those have been completed. 2 have been deferred. Those are the K-14 projects I mentioned previously, although work was done on K-14 in the area of design, and we did complete a K-14 project that was not impacted by sewer work. Big news for streets, and here is, of course, West Grand Avenue Streetscape project, which is newly complete, looks amazing, and we're going to be celebrating that on September 20th at our block party from 12 to 3 p.m. And then in the area of other important goals, we've also been doing a lot of work. We've begun the construction of phases 1 and 2 of the Ramona Garden Park Rehabilitation Project, and that work continues. We have a continued extensive community engagement. We've had coffee with council, coffee with a cop, city talk, and we've also had several targeted informational events specific to things happening in the city, including sewer rates and trash rate increases. We've also installed information bulletin boards at all of our city parks, which have all of our information on upcoming events and other big news in the city, and gives people a way to connect outside of social media and other ways that we reach out. And we've also approved our rate increase for our wastewater service to appropriately fund our operations and maintenance, and then also allow us to finance necessary infrastructure projects that have been long awaited. And then finally, we've continued our efforts to identify sources and evaluate the feasibility of supplemental water supply. And with that, I am available to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you so much. Questions to my left? Questions to my right? No? Okay, well then I will open up public comment on this item. If anybody would like to speak on this item, seeing nobody come forward, I will ask if there's anybody on the line. No? Then I will close public item. Public, it's 8:46. Okay. I will close public comment on this item. and just want to thank the city staff for implementing these, just doing the work on these goals. We have a different set of goals now, and I'm excited to see everything move forward. 95%, that's an A, so great job. Any other comments from our council?
Great job. Thank you.
Good. Okay. All right. So thank you so much for that presentation. We will now go on to council committee reports. And given the time in our closed session, I would ask everybody try to be as brief as possible. I know that we have been on a slight break, but I will start with Councilmember McCrory Driscoll on council committee reports.
I have nothing to report.
Okay. Councilmember Tuggle.
None of my committees met in the last month.
Okay. Councilmember Wyrick.
The only assignment I had that met was the Community Action Partnership of San Luis Obispo County, which goes by CAPSLO. So we had our board of directors meeting last Thursday, August 21st. Outside of routine business and seeking grants, the main thing that they actually did was go over their homeless services strategic alignment process, and a lot of that because the 40 Prado and other services they have was more aligned with the City of SLO's work too. But overall, since 40 Prado serves the entire county, it was interesting to hear that dynamic. But other than that, no other committee assignments met.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem?
Report for the Integrated Waste Management Authority. We had our new president installed, Jim Guthrie, at his first meeting with our executive director, Kobe Sky. He's new as well. And we did some work on human resources. We voted and approved to establish a yearly agreement with Your People Professionals, YPP, for our human resources. So we outsource all that now, which is very helpful and keep us compliant and transparent. We also approved establishing an internship program to collaborate with Cal Poly to provide students with practical experience while supporting IWMA's operations. The initial focus is on hiring social media interns to get the word out about how to recycle and what to recycle. It seems to be confusing sometimes. So also, that was, we pay up to $6,800, and it's all funded through a local assistance program. Also, the temporary administration position. The board also established a temporary administration position to handle functioning workloads and support during busy periods, special projects, or staff absences. So we don't have to have a full-time person on board. We just call them in as we need them. The board also accepted the official resignation and retirement of Peter Cron, who will continue to provide expertise and assistance on a need basis, particularly to support our new director, Kobe Sky. We all wish Peter Cron a very happy and well-deserved retirement. He really made a big difference in the agency. If anyone's been following that, some problems, and he helped get through them. So we had a closed session. I can provide a little bit regarding the sale of the Osos property. For those of you who are not aware, bought a building, and we're selling the one on Osos, which is right next to the courthouse. And we did receive one offer, and the specific price I can't detail now, but we're waiting for an official certified appraisal. It's kind of the agreement we went into, see if his offer matches the appraisal. Kind of did it backwards, but it's a long story. If the appraisal meets or exceeds the offer price, we plan to accept the offer. If the appraisal is higher, the buyer has agreed to go up to the appraisal price. Before we went through all these negotiations, he agreed to do that. The property's been on the market for a couple of months with only this one offer. And it's a pretty nice house, but I think it's old. You know how that goes. We expect the sale to be finalized soon. That's it.
Okay, thank you. As for me, I had San Luis Obispo Council of Governments. We went over our strategic plan. Some of those in the strategic plan, some of the items included to propel organizational excellence, be a trusted agency, and be a champion for improved mobility. Other items we talked about was the Morro Bay Roundabout, US 101 Managed Lane in Pismo, the 2026 Fund Cycle, the 2060 Regional Growth Forecast, and then I was also honored to join our SLOCOG staff to LA to go to the Coast Rail Coordinating Council, and we actually talked a lot about the Olympics, the 2028 Olympics, and how we can, how LA can or SLOCOG, the Coordinating Council train system, support us as a city that is nearby. So I thought that was really neat and kind of got the gears turning about the Olympics. So that was that. So we will now move on to our council communications. And before we get started on that, I just wanted to answer some of these questions, even though some of our friends have left from the public comment. Let me start with, let's see. Okay, so there were a lot of comments about Central Coast Blue and lots of questions. I was hoping that City Manager Bronson, if you can just touch on that and tell us where, I know that we've had meetings with, well, I've had a meeting with Mayor Wagi, and we've been in contact with them. They've had Central Coast Blue meetings as far as moving forward, and I was just hoping that we can maybe, if it's of interest with the council, to get an update from the city of Pismo Beach, where they are. Maybe they can come to one of our council meetings. Maybe we can discuss further about the outreach efforts that they are having from that city, since it is the City of Pismo Beach project.
Sure, Mayor, and I'll have to be brief because it's not an agendized item, so
Right.
there's a lot we could talk about regarding the issue, but just in general, we withdrew from the project last year. We're not a party to the project. We're not financially involved in the project. It is owned by the site is owned by the City of Pismo Beach, and they are intending to begin moving forward again with some kind of project at that site. We're waiting to get more information from them about further specifics and process. We have already talked to them about outreach needs and notification needs that they'll need to do. We'll be talking to them more about that here very soon.
Okay, and I've also been a part of those conversations as well, and I hear Mayor Wagi is also interested in doing the most outreach that he can. I just know that there's a lot of questions. Is it possible, from a council standpoint, did we want to ask the City of Pismo to come in and maybe have an update for us?
So, Mayor, actually, one thing I was going to ask during my council communications is if we could authorize staff time from our staff to have a community meeting with residents over in the affected area too, that I could be a part of, because one of the things that, at least on our end, we could clear up is where the city's lane is, because there was a lot of things that happened. I mean, and I was there when we pushed for the withdrawal, but circumstances have changed too because of that as well. So at least on our end, we could get a lot of those parts cleared up too, and where the City of Pismo and their JPA goes with it too. Then we could direct people more effectively where that part comes into play, because I'm not sure, and we can only control where our staff comes into. Yes, it'd be great if they presented to us. We don't run that timeline though. We run our timeline for our staff, so that's one thing I did want to request. And I mentioned it to some of the residents too, and
Okay.
That's one thing I'd hope for.
All right, so do we have concurrence to ask staff to, can you say it one more time? Just for.
For authorizing our staff time to do a community meeting with the residents in that affected area. So it's pretty limited to those stuff that, not just the ones that were here too, but in that area who were affected, to get a lot of questions answered too, but also understand where the city's lane is too, but then where the project and the City of Pismo and their lane is too, because like I said, when we withdrew, things changed as far as where it came to, and it's more effective to direct them towards that part. And Pismo could be there.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
I think that this would be great to be brought back to us so that we can talk about moving forward, having that community meeting, because this is the City of Pismo project. I know we want our staff to be involved, but I'm worried about the involvement because it's their project.
Mayor, maybe just to summarize what I'm hearing from the council and maybe just provide a possible direction is if the council wanted to direct staff to contact Pismo Beach regarding where things are with this particular project, to express an interest in wanting to do some proactive engagement and notification soon, both within the residential area around the site as well as elsewhere, we can begin that conversation, and I can bring more information back to your council about what that could look like.
Okay.
Yeah, in addition to that, I think where you were, Councilmember Wyrick was mentioning or highlighting what's our lane, some
Correct.
true public education, not just what is Pismo doing, but where is our jurisdiction, where does it stop, what can we do, what is completely outside of our purview, so that everybody's clear on that.
Correct.
And
Yeah, since
notifying those residents ahead of time so they can come to the meeting and get involved.
I'm actually asking for that initial, the reason why I'm saying authorizing staff time too is I would rather have that meeting scheduled around their availability versus a council meeting's availability to at least answer their part too. Now the council could have its own presentation, which I understand that's kind of what you're saying. My request and stuff is more directly towards that regional area too, as far as community meeting. We did that before with Margarita and stuff when it came to the homelessness area too. And we've done these things
But
before.
I echo that concern because that puts staff in a place like they're in control.
Yeah,
and
that's
they're
what I'm
not.
saying. Yeah.
It's not their gig, and it's not their job to publicly notice. And I'm not saying that I don't want Pismo too, but I also don't want to put staff in a place where they look like they have authority that they don't. I'll use the fire maps as a good example. A lot of people are really grumpy with cities who adopted the fire maps. It didn't impact us, but all we did was rubber stamp it. We had no control over those fire maps. So I think first making sure we're clear that we've done a public education about what we have control over, and that's the only thing that staff should be directed to being addressed.
Yes, so what I'm hearing is that we would like to direct staff to reach out to the city of Pismo Beach, get more information on exactly what our lane is, bring it back to us so that we can have some more information to give to our community, and then going from there. Because again, this is their project. So these are the questions. The questions that were asked tonight need to be asked to the city of Pismo Beach.
With the caveat of public education about what we can control.
Yes.
Because there's a few little parameters that are still in our jurisdiction, and let's get clear on those so that we can be advocates in those areas, but not putting staff in a place where they're trying to explain somebody else's stuff.
Are we clear on that direction?
I am.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Bronson. All right, and then as far as, I do have some notes here that I believe I will follow up on because I'm meeting with some of these people in the next few days, so I'll follow up on some of these items. And then just really quick, also, there was a lot of comments about development and water specifically, and questions on water supply. Can you remind me when our water update will be? What we're proposing a water update. I know that we have a water update coming to us really soon.
Yes, Mayor, we have a water update scheduled for the September 8th council meeting. It's a water system update. That's going to be a very comprehensive item covering water infrastructure, touching on supply, billing. It's not going to get into details around water supply and demand, as that's what we hope to do through a separate water resiliency study that we propose to carry out over the next 6 to 8 months. So we're going to be talking about all things water, but start off a long journey involving the public, involving your council, involving other agencies over the next year to year and a half.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, so let's go on to the rest of the council communications. Councilmember McCrory Driscoll.
I'll be brief. I just, this week, I went to the newly elected Officials Academy, put on by the JPIA at no cost to the city. Extremely informational, combined with our beginning training that we went through. I can say these few months in, so much of it made so much more sense. So I really felt like I learned a lot, and they gave us a lot to learn. A lot of it was based around risk management solutions, but also just working as a team, understanding our role and the role we have of working together, along with the city's role. So great academy.
Awesome, wonderful. Okay, Councilmember Tuggle.
I don't have much either. I did enjoy Spoon Trade's 10th anniversary celebration that was also my birthday. So it was like having a birthday party I didn't have to plan. But no, they're just such a great asset to the community. It was really nice to be there and to see the turnout.
Yeah. Councilmember Wyrick.
Yeah, I'll just add a few different things too. It was good to attend the remaining parts of our city summer concerts, and a lot of people really, I swear, people love those concerts so much too. It's always great to have that too, especially all the neighbors who just got to walk across the street this year, and then of course the Clark Center Performing Arts Stone Soup Music Festival this past weekend. A lot of great performances, and even the setup. I got a lot of positive responses of how it got engaged people too, and I was happy to join the Rotary Club of Grover Beach and also Pismo for their pack of their 10,000 meals too. And the only other thing I did want to ask, as far as council consideration for a future agenda item, is it was something that kind of got touched upon earlier in the meeting too. There's the difference between legal required noticing of different things, and then there's proactive informing different areas. And I'd want to see, since one of our council priorities is community engagement, that's one kind of systematized area that could be done in a different way. So even discussing that too, and I could always work with staff too, as far as kind of fleshing out more of what I was thinking of, but I think that'd be a helpful part too, so that our systems could actually get on top of that, because it happens in different areas in different ways too. And where, our director, Megan Martin, made it clear as far as where state law is at, but we could do things different within our city practices too. Other cities do it too. So I did want to hope for a future agenda item, and how fleshed out that is too. I don't have all that right now, but it's something I want to see concurrence for in the future to schedule.
Okay. Do we have concurrence for that as far as, going inside with our community engagement goal? Okay. All right, good. Worth having a conversation. So we'd like to see an update. What I'm hearing is we'd like to see an update on, or just ideas on how to better communicate versus what's state and what is not.
Yeah, strategies for proactive communication above and beyond state legally requires noticing.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, Mayor Pro Tem.
The Eco Club 5 Cities was honored to zero waste the Rotary Pismo Beach Rotary Club Summer Sizzle. That's their annual fundraiser. There's about 300-400 people there, and they are probably the closest zero waste that I've seen since doing this for 15 years. They had literally no trash. It was compostable plates, reusable silverware. Everything was composted. There was no trash. And recycled cans and bottles is about the only thing, but those are not going to the landfill. So that was a good event. We also did the stone soup. I went blank there for a minute. It was a long weekend. And they had 8 yards of recycle and 8 yards of trash, and a lot of cans and a lot of bottles, which I was able to give to some homeless people. And it was a very successful event. The people were great. I don't think we had any incidents. The first aid tent, I think, treated 2 or 3 slips and falls for minor cuts, but that's about it. I don't think the police department had any issues as well. So it was very successful. The new layout was very nice. I thought at first the bandstands being so close together would be conflicting with each other, but they weren't. And it sounded great. The vendors all did well. And it was a fantastic event. We'll see what happens next year when we get the park open. Maybe we'll have 3 bandstands. Anyway, that's it.
So to piggyback off of that, I attended the entire Stone Soup Festival from 9 a.m. the first day. I went home for a couple hours to change for the Molly Ringwald project, and then stayed there for the Molly Ringwald project, which ended at 9:30 p.m. or so. And just our community out there, you could just feel it. It was so phenomenal. And then the next day, was there until 9 until closing as well. And I just want to say thank you so much to our staff for volunteering their time. I know Larry Kim was there all day on Saturday as well. Our city manager Bronson was there on both days. We had various staff, Public Works, Ray, Chief Monroe was there, Chief Hallett was there. We had we were in full representation, and that was very exciting. We had a lot of comments and feedback, especially on the project that was happening right behind us. Heard lots of comments about the park, feedback about park structure, services. We had questions about property projects and permitting. We promoted the block party. We had questions and comments about development, traffic. We promoted the movie night coming up. So it was a very, very exciting weekend. And I was just really happy to see how many people came to the booth, asked us questions, made comments, and generally were supportive and or had questions. So education being that community engagement was really important to me, and so we really shone. So thank you so much to our staff. I really appreciate it. So now we will move on to city manager's reports and comments.
Thank you, Mayor. And yes, we spent hours out there over the weekend engaging with the public, and it was just such a wonderful community event, great community conversations, and a lot of excitement for where we're going as a community. So really great to hear that. Just really briefly, upcoming special events. We have 3 that we're planning for that we're excited about. First, Friday, September 5th is our next movie night at 16th Street Park. The Minecraft movie will be the movie shown that evening. We're looking forward to a great event. I think it's 6 p.m., right, Kristen? 6 p.m. when we'll have concessions there available as well. Next, we have the Dune Run coming up on Sunday, September 14th at 9 a.m. at the Beach Plaza, end of West Grand Avenue, the 36th annual Dune Run. And then we have our West Grand Block Party Saturday, September 20th, 12 o'clock to 3 o'clock on West Grand between 5th and 7th Street. We have over 30 vendors signed up. We'll have kids' activities. We'll have beverages available for purchase, just live music. It's just a good old-fashioned block party on our beautiful new West Grand Avenue streetscape section. So we're looking forward to that. Larry Kim's doing a great job organizing that. The community is really supporting it, and should be a really fun event. Thank you.
And then city attorney reports and comments, and why don't you lead us into closed session?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I have nothing to report. For closed session this evening, we have 3 items. First item is conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, initiation of litigation pursuant to paragraph 4, subdivision D of section 54956.9 of the Government Code, deciding whether to initiate litigation, one case, Purdue Sackler National Opioid Settlement. The second item is conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, significant exposure to litigation pursuant to paragraph 2 or 3 of subdivision D of Government Code section 54956.9, 2 cases. And the third item is public employee performance evaluation pursuant to Government Code section 54957, title City Manager.
All right, thank you. I will now open public comment on the closed session.
So rather be home. So you're going to evaluate our city manager tonight, and I just want to point out some things. Only 2 of you were here on the last council. Our city manager, there were overcharges every time our rates, water rates were increased. Finally, a community member brought it to the attention, and we got $98,000 or something back. I'm a firm believer, when you make a mistake, we all make mistakes, but acknowledge it. You know, the thing that was changed today, item 7, the elevator, it was called, when they decided to change the elevator height, it was said it was an oversight. Well, who's overseeing? Who's making the mistakes? I want to remind you that our city manager advised the last council and some of you to spend over $3 million on Central Coast Blue. Gee, that could have paid for the sewer, could have paid for the park even. There was also 218 notices that had to go out that cost the community money because it was botched, the first one. There was also a lawsuit against the city clerk that the community won because the city manager and attorney at that time advised the clerk to not abide by the laws, and the judge decided that. But there was never anything, hey man, we're sorry. You had to go spend your money to sue us to get the judge to say you were wrong. This isn't right. You also picked the park over the sewer and now put the sewer on us to pay for. I think a wiser move might have been to pick the sewer, leave the park the way it was. There's many other items, and I want you to know that there's something you can do. You can revoke that consolidated permit and have control of Central Coast Blue. If you choose, it's up to you. Will our city manager advise you to do that? I don't think so. But think about it, okay?
Thank you for your comments.
Lauren Westfog. Real quick, I kind of really appreciated you guys taking the time off, because during that time I actually was a positive person, and now I'm back to being a negative. Working in law enforcement and being a supervisor, I had to do a lot of performance evals. But before I touch on that, I almost forgot, on closed session A, it would be nice if you guys word it maybe a little bit more positive, as this settlement is actually for money that's going to be directed towards the community, and it's based on addiction treatment, prevention, and recovery. Because the way you guys have it worded is like the city's going to have to pay these people. No, these people are paying us possibly. Now back to the performance eval. Bronson, I have to say you've been a little bit better as far as communication with me, but it's difficult for anybody to really get a direct answer. You also have been double talking, and you've been deceiving the public and deceiving you guys. He missed oversight committees. He had the oversight committee that was supposed to be 2 separate committees into one. He cost the citizens $96,000 or $98,000 in the water thing. He cost $800 on the having to reissue. It's been a lot of errors, a lot of oversights, a lot of mistakes. There's been a lot of conflict of emotions in here. It's been a little better since Mayor D, you became mayor, but there's still issues. And we can't move forward until we have his performance. And anyways, I'm just getting upset. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Westfall. Any other comments?
Mayor and members of the council, I have a few items that I wanted to bring to your attention to add to the ones that have been given so far. Our city manager has lost the confidence of the people, and he's lost it because he lies. I don't know how else to say it. Tonight was a great example. He said, and I know the mayor tried to cut people off when they wanted to talk about building heights, that there was nothing about building heights in the presentation, but I read it. I'm not sure the rest of you read it, because I can cite, right now I've got about 7 different notes about height. And there were some about parking as well. And I'm not going to waste your time with the references. If you'd like them, I'll give them to you. Also, he is probably the highest paid, I think it's around $400,000 now, city manager in a city with the budgets of our size and populations of our size. And same thing, the only one with an assistant manager. So we're paying a huge part of our budget for something that other cities, similar cities, do not have. I think the most heinous thing to me was what I'm going to call the desecration of memorials in the park, in Ramona Garden Park. Trees and memorials that people placed were simply raised. And the city manager went on the news to say, oh, well, you know, most of them didn't pay for it anyway, and we can't find them. Well, I can tell you one of them's a former mayor. And I think she could be found. And another one is a former employee who paid, and they paid for these trees and memorials. And that's the other thing your mayor told your city manager told everybody, and that is that, oh, they weren't paid for anyway. They were paid for, and they were really special to people in this community. And that's yet another example of just the cavalier attitude to the people of Grover Beach. I'd like to also remind you, or first of all, I'm going to remind you about the Brown Act, because it gets forgotten a lot on this kind of thing, because in industry we do it differently. But what happens is we will review a city manager. You cannot give him a pay raise at the same time you review him. You have to do that separately and bring it back to the people so they can have their say in whether he should be paid more. That's a really important point. So if you want to put his pay up, you're going to have to come tell us first and ask for our permission. And finally, I would like to say with the huge salary, essentially what our city manager is doing is building his resume on the back of the people of Grover Beach.
Thank you. Any other comments? Seeing nobody come forward, is there anybody on the line? No? Well, then I will close public comment on the closed session, and we will move into closed session at this time.